Hello, everybody. If you can hear me loud and clear, please do let me know. So, I plan on doing another stream tonight to try and figure out some of the audio issues and hopefully to have a conversation with you guys as well along the way. In my previous stream, there were some people who were a little bit. They had a less than desirable experience because the stream quality was poor, unfortunately. So, as far as I can tell, hello there. What is it? Calasia? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hello there. And William Vincent Afton writes, "Hi, what do you like more, DC or Marvel or Batman or DC?" And the sound is great and the audio is good. Oh well, thank you for the feedback. I'll get to Disney and Marvel and all that stuff shortly. Let me just get some of the tech issues out of the way first. So, yeah, the previous stream had a few issues. The connection was a bit dodgy, for lack of a better term. And I'm seeing here now again, so just as I'm streaming right now, it says the stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended. And I mean, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. I mean, if anybody here is familiar with streaming, please do let me know. But I mean, I've got a wired connection right now. Really, really solid internet connection. It does give me the option here to open a widget. Okay. Stream status good. So yeah, it says the stream's current bitrate is 2700 and something. It's lower than the recommended bitrate. We recommend that you use a stream bitrate of 6800 kilobytes. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's just a weirdness of YouTube. Perhaps you guys can just be the best judge. So if the sound is good for you guys, then tell me. If the stream gets dodgy, I do have a channel, but I never stream on it, so I don't know. Sorry. That's fair enough. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. I don't expect people to know. So vid quality, I don't expect people to know if they don't already stream, of course. There are people I can ask. I said I'd chance it again because I have sorted a couple of things. I use a VPN sometimes, and I know that can definitely slow down a channel's connection. So I've opted not to use a VPN this time, and yeah, I've also played around with the volume and things. So the volume should be better. And I've also tried my best to remedy the super chat audio issue. So when people were submitting super chats the last time, something I'm very grateful for, their message appears on the screen, which is the number one thing. So if you submit a super chat this evening, dear listener, your super chat will appear on the screen, which is very important. I want you to get the attention you deserve if you've been, you know, kind enough to help me out and to help the channel and so on. But in theory, if I've set it up correctly, and I don't know if I have, because all of this is a huge learning curve for me. In theory, when you submit a super chat this evening, a audio cue should also play, and you guys should hear it. Only I could hear it last time. It was in a kind of a monitoring mode. So I don't know what that's about. But this evening, if somebody submits a super chat, when somebody submits a super chat, it should play a little jingle for you guys to hear as well, which would be nice. So, again, just looking at the readouts here. Apologies, folks. I know this is quite dull at the moment. I'm just trying to check on the quality of the stream and make sure it's all good before I go into full conversation mode, because as you guys well know, as soon as I go into conversation mode, I will lose track of everything else. That is who I am. So, yeah, look, everything is looking fine here. I am getting warnings in my YouTube studio about the stream's current bit rate. So if you guys are noticing buffering on your end, this is a live stream. Nothing can go wrong. Yeah, I wish. Oh, wouldn't that be the world? Wouldn't that be the best world to live in? Yeah, I'm all too familiar with things going wrong on live streams, I'm afraid to say. But yeah, if you notice any video issues, just if you guys could just be my eyes and ears, I would really appreciate that, because I will be monitoring the chat throughout the stream, folks. So if you notice any now I mean significant, if you notice a very, very slight drop in quality that lasts 2 seconds and then it kicks back into gear, I'm not gonna consider that a big deal. But if you consider any significant pauses, jumps, or audio breaks, or connection issues or something like that, please do act as my eyes and ears and jump into the comments and just let me know, jump into the chat and just let me know that that's happening. Other than that, we should be all good. So, where are we here? Thank you to everybody who's jumped into the chat box already. So, yeah, I don't have a specific plan this evening as such. There was just a couple of things that I kind of wanted to discuss with you guys. As happens with these lives, I end up just kind of giving you guys a rundown of what I've done recently, and for some reason people keep tuning in to hear that, which is always bewildering to me, but I'll take it, I'll accept it. I'm very happy that that's the case. If that sounds dull, well, thanks for joining, and I'll see you some other time. So, yeah, as you guys know at this point, if you've joined any of these lives in the past, I'm definitely an absolute cinema fanatic. I love, love, love movies. Here in the UK, there's a cinema chain called Cineworld, and they have this absolutely, in my view, unbeatable deal. I actually don't know how it makes any business sense at all. I'd love to know the economics that underpin it, because as far as I can tell, they're robbing themselves. But basically, if you pay them, I think it's like 18 or 19 British pounds per month. So I don't know what the exact exchange rate. If somebody knows, if somebody wants to check it on Google quickly, tell me what 19 British pounds is in dollars. My guess is it would be about $25. So basically, for about £19 per month, you can go and see as many films as you like. You can go to the movies as many times as you like, see as many films as you want. And given the fact that one cinema ticket for one adult in today's economy is 15 or 16 British pounds, and this card is only 18 or 19 pounds per month, all you have to do is go to the cinema twice in a single month and you've already made your money back and then some. So it's a pretty damn good deal in my view. Now, it's going to start to sound like this is not a sponsored video, folks. I don't have stocks in Cineworld. I wish I did. I might be making a few pound out of this announcement, but suffice to say, if you live in the UK, I couldn't recommend more highly that you use Cineworld's unlimited deal. So look, I'm going to take out my phone here, right? I'm going to tell you right now all of the movies that I've already gone to see this month, and just this month alone. Look at that. Thank you, GeoSam. GeoSam just did the exchange rate. You can check the tape on this, and I promise you I didn't look this up in advance. My estimate was that 19 British pounds would be approximately $25. GeoSam jumps into the chat there and confirms that at the current exchange rate, it's $25.53. So that was a pretty good estimate, to be fair. Come on, give me some credit for that. I want to see some thumbs up or some congratulations in the chat for that. That was a good estimate. In any case, it's a pretty damn good deal. And let me show you, right, these are all the movies I've gone to see already. I'm getting to a point here, by the way. I have a story that I'm going to tell you guys in a moment about my visits to the cinema. Can I pull up? Yes, my purchases. Okay. So, why is it only showing the previous three? Do you know, it's going to be faster. Forget my cinema app. Let me just pull up movies 2025. Movies 2025. All right, so I'll tell you. Actually, I need to hit July, don't I? So I can tell you what I've gone to see recently. Rightio. So, it's just I have a crap memory, folks. Oh, look, I'm struggling here. I'll try and do my best to remember it. So, I've gone to see I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, look at that. My laptop's starting to go dead. 1 second, folks. I'm just going to plug in my laptop charger because these live streams, it turns out that they absolutely eat your battery. So, give me 1 moment. I've come prepared. I've come prepared for this. Talk about the most unprofessional stream of all time. 1 moment, folks. There we go. Somebody says, well done, Skeptic. Do I detect a hint of sarcasm there? It's well earned. It's definitely well earned. Goodness gracious me. I suck at this. I really suck at this. So, anyway, what was I saying? So, I went to see I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one. I went to see Bring Her Back, I think is the title of the horror film. I went to see Fantastic Four. I went to see Superman. And I went to see F1. I went to see Megan 2.0. So, I mean, I didn't count them there, but like that's like 5, 6 films already. I've gone to see 5 or 6 movies this month already, and I've only paid £19. What is popping up on my screen here? Right. Sorry, my VPN is trying to turn itself on, and I don't want that to happen because it's going to interfere with the connection quality here, folks. So I've made sure that that doesn't happen. But anyway, yeah, what was I saying? So basically, for 19 British pounds, which as we've established is $25.53, I've gone to see 6 films this month, right? Now I know July is a good month for films, and you can like that was 6 different movies. But the key point is I could go back and see all of those 6 movies again. I couldn't probably fit all 6 of them in a single day, but I could go see 3 of them tomorrow and 3 of them the next day. And again, I'll pay no extra money. And on top of that, I also get 25% off of my food purchases and so on. So anyway, if you live in the UK, I couldn't recommend Cineworld's Unlimited card more highly. As far as I'm aware, there's a similar system that people have in the US. There are certain cinemas that have a monthly option. But I have heard mixed things. I've heard that there are limitations that you can only go during certain hours and that you can't see 3D films or you can't see the movie that just came out new and that sort of thing. There's like limitations or you have to pay a surcharge at certain times and that sort of thing. So look, listen, I've no idea how Cineworld affords this because if you again consider the fact that it's £16 per film, 16 British pounds to go see a film in this country, then all you need to do is go twice and you've already made your money back. Right? You've already made £14 back by the time you've gone twice, and then each subsequent film that you go to see is another 16 quid profit, 16 quid profit, 16 quid profit. So it's a pretty insane deal. And in any case, yeah, I couldn't recommend it more highly. But yeah, as I said, there's a reason that I brought this up. So I want to know what you guys think about this. But in my anecdotal experience, and I really, really want to get your guys' thoughts on this. In my anecdotal experience, cinema etiquette appears to have gone the way of the dodo, which is to say that it's bloody extinct. Right? I don't know what happened to decency in the world. And forgive me, I know I'm speaking anecdotally. Let me just preface all of this by saying perhaps I have been exposed to a statistically anomalous subset of people, which is to say that maybe most people's experience, statistically speaking, is actually quite a pleasant one, and that I've essentially been unlucky. That is the nature of a probability distribution. There's going to be somebody who loses, right? There's going to be the person who walks outside tomorrow and gets struck by lightning, even though that's statistically quite unlikely, given the number of people in the world and the number of lightning kind of strikes that'll happen in a single 24-hour period on planet Earth or whatnot. The odds are that somebody somewhere, so while for any one individual the odds are quite low, there will still be somebody somewhere who gets struck by lightning, right? That's the kind of point I'm making. And so to import the analogy, I'm just acknowledging here that perhaps I'm the unlucky one who's been struck by lightning. Because my experience in the cinema in the last couple of years has been atrocious. It has been nothing short of abysmal. And when I compared that 2 years with the previous 10 years of rather happy cinema attendance, again, acknowledging the fact that I may just be the person who was struck by lightning, if it so happens that I'm not unlucky and that this is indicative of a broader trend, I just don't know what explains it. I've seen some people speaking about this problem. I'm not the only person who's noticing this. So, for example, people on their phones. Like, people now think absolutely nothing of sitting in the theatre and just scrolling on their phone for the duration of a film, with their phone lighting up the auditorium, lighting up their big stupid face, and disrupting the film for everybody else. I don't know about you folks, but I can't focus on a film if the person in front of me, or a few rows in front of me, or even several rows in front of me, is on their phone. A phone light in a dark cinema or in a theatre is incredibly distracting. And some people don't even have the decency to put it on silent. Some people are just playing some game on their phone and we can hear it. And parents do this with their kids as well. They bring their kids who are incapable of sitting quiet for 2 hours to the cinema with them, probably because they couldn't find a babysitter or they couldn't afford one. They bring them to a film that they have no business watching. I mean, I went to see F1, which is like a 2.5 hour or like 3 hour movie. And these two parents brought a child who I would estimate was about 5 years of age. And predictably, he loses his mind during the movie. Like, he's screaming and he's running up and down the aisle and he's playing on his iPad. I mean, this is completely dysfunctional. Now look, maybe that child had some kind of special educational need, and I'm not here to give anybody a hard time. I know life is tough. But there's got to be a better solution to this. I mean, surely the answer can't be that everybody else in the cinema just has to sit there grinding their teeth while children destroy the movie-going experience. And this is not just about kids. That was just one example. Most of the time, what I'm talking about here is adults. Now, of course, adults can have learning needs and they can have disabilities, mental and otherwise as well, and I fully appreciate that. But I'm not going to give the disabled community a hard time. I remember being in the cinema once, and there was a man, he was an adult, and he had Down syndrome. And he was not quiet during the film, and I just accepted it and moved on, because he deserves to go to the cinema. Who am I to tell him that he can't go to the cinema? And obviously, given his Down syndrome, he's like, I have to adjust my behavioral expectations. I totally get that. I've got no problem with that. That's fair enough. My criticism here isn't directed towards kids with special educational needs or an adult with a disability or something like that. I wouldn't dream of saying something like that. So I want that to be very, very clear. I'm talking about the adults who don't have such issues. I'm talking about the adults who could actually sit there and just watch the movie, but they're choosing to have a conversation with the person sat next to them. They're choosing to take out their phone and scroll for a half hour or an hour. They're choosing to disrupt other people's movie going experience. And like, I mean, I don't know about you folks, but it's the movies. It's the movies. It's not the talkies. It's the movies. You're there to sit down, shut up, and watch the film. That's what you're there for. Going to the cinema to have a conversation with the person next to you is like going to the library to have a sing-song. It's moronic. What are people doing? Goodness gracious me, what are they doing? The cinema is not an opportunity to have a conversation. It's an opportunity to shut up and sit down and watch a film. I just don't get it. I'm coming to a couple of stories, by the way. This isn't coming from nowhere. Stories which will be all too familiar to some of you, I suspect. But I just don't understand why people think that this is acceptable behavior. I've heard some people hypothesize that this might have something to do with COVID. That perhaps during our isolation, where the whole world locked down and we couldn't go outside and so on and so forth, that people became hopelessly addicted to their technologies, and that might explain the phone thing, for example, where people go into the cinema and they're incessantly scrolling on their phone and checking their notifications and so on. I mean, we're all hopelessly addicted to our technology at this point, it would seem to me, and that's definitely part of the problem. But that wouldn't explain why people are incessantly talking. So let me tell you one of my stories. I went to see Megan 2.0. Now, this is a short story. Don't expect any big fireworks here. It's just a short little anecdote. But I went to see Megan 2.0, and I went on my own. I do like to go to the cinema on my own every now and then. It's a nice activity. I'm a real movie buff, and I like to just go into the theatre, sit down, get lost in the darkness with my popcorn and my Tango Orange sugar-free. That's my favourite one. And just get lost in the world of the movie, right? Forget all my problems. Forget about life. Forget about all of the issues of the world, the political issues and the chaos and my family's health problems and all that stuff, right? Just let all that dissolve away into the background. I just want the movie to wash over me, right? Of course, other people don't go to the cinema for that purpose. Other people go to the cinema to have a fucking conversation. So I go in to see Megan 2.0, which ended up being an okay movie. It wasn't fantastic, if you want to know my review. So get there, sit down, and people's timing as well just seems to be brutal, because this group of teenagers, I say teenagers, they were probably between the age of, I don't know, they were probably 17, 18, something like that. And 5 of them, this is, every time I see them arrive in groups like this, I kind of just instantly decide, oh no, this is going to be bad. Right? I hate to give these youths a hard time, but I gotta be honest, and if you're 17 or 18 and you're watching this and you go to the cinema and you shut up, you sit down and you watch the movie, good. That's exactly what you should be doing. But in my experience, folks, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but I just have to be honest about the pattern. When you see groups of teenagers going to the cinema, I dare say at this point you'd be better off standing up and walking out of the cinema before the movie even starts. Just walk out to the lobby and rebook your ticket for the next showing and hope that another group of teenagers doesn't show up to that showing. And this isn't exclusively an issue with teenagers, right? It's not. And like I said, if you're a teenager and you go to the cinema and you do what you're told and you sit down and you watch the movie, then I applaud you. That's great. I'm not going to articulate a thesis that all teenagers are guilty of this, but if I'm going to be honest about my anecdotal experience, teenagers are some of the worst offenders. They are incapable, the groups that I've encountered. They're incapable of going to the cinema and sitting down and being quiet and watching a film. I know at this point this stream is starting to sound like old man screams or shouts at Cloud. And I guess, that's fair. So forgive me for sounding like a curmudgeon. But I'm sorry, again, to reiterate, the cinema is for movie watching. It's not for discussions. It's not for conversations. Or in the case of these teenagers, it's not for playing music on your phone. It's not for punching and kicking each other and having mock fights or play fights in the row behind me. It's not for kicking chairs. It's not for throwing popcorn. It's not for having a jolly, which is everything that these teenage boys were doing. I say boys, they were men, basically, with the way teenagers grow these days. I dare say it's rare that you encounter one that isn't 6 foot and built like a brick shithouse. So this group of 5 or 6 teenage lads are behind me, and they're just absolutely taking the piss. They're having fully audible conversations with one another. Fully audible conversations. Taking the piss out of one another. Swearing and cursing and punching each other and laughing uproariously at each other's jokes. And every time something happens in the movie where there's just a moment of silence after it, one of them has to say something to the other one as they're one-upping each other to try and basically have a comedic set at the back of the cinema. And I'm just sat there listening to all of this. I'm trying to enjoy the film, and it's becoming impossible. At which point, I have no recourse, and I turn around, and I say, guys, excuse me, could you please stop making noise? It's very distracting. And one of them said, sorry, but did not look impressed. They were disgusted that I had the gall or the audacity to actually turn around and ask them to shut up. Now, to their credit, they did stop making noise for about 20 minutes, half an hour, but then it kind of started to kick back in again, right? They never got as bad as they were at the beginning, but every couple of minutes there was another snigger, another laugh, another piece of popcorn thrown, another punch, another whatever. And it destroyed my experience of the film. And I mean, what am I supposed to do? Right, I'm one guy. Am I supposed to go back and just John Wick the situation? Chop a few throats, punch a few noses? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Right? Essentially, you're hostage to these people and their inconsiderate nature. They're just going to do what they're going to do, and you have to sit there and listen to them. I mean, it's just completely out of order. I mean, back in the day, I remember going, again, here I go, old man again. Back in the day, I remember cinemas used to be proactive with removing people. Like, cinemas used to have the equivalent of a bouncer, basically. Somebody would come in with a torch and walk up and down the aisles, and if people were taking the piss, they were removed. They just got rid of them. Like, cinemas really need to start, like, stepping up to the plate here and start ensuring that their theatres are enjoyable places to be, where you can watch a film in peace. Because otherwise, people are going to stop going. Now, I'm not quite there yet, but I've spoken to a lot of people who have made that decision. They do not go to the cinema anymore. And it's precisely for the reasons that I'm outlining here. Because you just can't be guaranteed a peaceful night at the movies anymore. A peaceful day at the movies. There's going to be people's kids running up and down the aisles. There's going to be people throwing popcorn. There's going to be obnoxious people having full-blown conversations. And then reacting negatively when you expect them to be quiet. I mean, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. So I am going to tell you another story about the cinema in a moment, but let me just say this, a shameless plug. If you are sitting there and you're watching the stream, it costs you nothing to drop a like on the video. That helps out the channel enormously. If you could just do that favor for me, I would really sincerely appreciate it. Just click that like button. That would be fantastic. And thank you in advance for doing that. It costs you nothing and it helps me out enormously. But if you would like to take an extra step and go a little bit further and donate a super chat and ask me a question that I can address or challenge me or ask my thoughts on a particular topic or anything like that, that's totally fine too. I would love for you to do that. That would be fantastic. It helps out the channel enormously. It is people like my patrons and those who submit super chats that keep this channel afloat. So if you would be so generous, that would be, if you're willing and you're also able. I'm not putting any financial pressure on anybody. If all you can do here this evening is sit here with me and drop a like in that video and jump into the chat and join the conversation, you know, that's fantastic. There's no pressure at all on the financial front. I don't want anybody to feel that way. But if you are both willing and able and you would like to support the channel, then please do consider submitting a super chat. But with that said, let me get back to the cinema thing. So I have got one other story, and this one is worse. So I've saved the best for last, right? This story is way worse. So, this story is from a little bit further back. I can actually remember the film. It was when I went to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It turned out it was Doctor Strange and the Cinema of Madness. In any case, I go in to watch the film. And this is one of those high-end cinemas, right? When I say high-end, you don't sit in cinema seats. The entire cinema is like upholstered. It's got actual sofas. When I say sofa, I mean literal sofas. Like what somebody would have in their living room. It's got sofas, it's got little side tables next to the sofas, and you order food. You can order steak and chips and hot dogs and pizzas, and even there are like some pasta dishes like bolognese and so on. And you order it, and waiters and waitresses bring your food in as you sit there and you watch the movie and so on. It's quite a fancy, high-up cinema experience. And you pay for it, I might add. It's an expensive cinema-going experience. So this wasn't with my unlimited cinema card. We splashed out and we went a little bit further. We decided to go premium for this particular film. Not because we're any major fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or anything like that. We just wanted to try something different on this given night. In any case, we go to this cinema and we sit down, luxury, great food, milkshakes, delicious burger. It's fantastic, right? This cinema gets an A for the food and the ambiance and the comfort, complete creature comfort. It's amazing, right? With that said, we're in the cinema. And the film starts, right? Some people are talking through the trailers and so on. And, you know, I give people a free pass when it comes to the trailers. Fine. I give people a free pass on that one. Because the film hasn't started yet, right? That's fine. No big deal. Then the film starts, and it's within 5 minutes you can tell if somebody is going to be a problem. Right? Within 5 minutes. So the film starts. And there's two people, and of course, they're directly behind me. I can literally feel one of these guys breathing on the back of my neck. That's how close they are to me, right? Slight exaggeration, but you get the point. And every single time something significant happens, this guy leans over to his pal, and he starts talking about, oh my God, this is like that scene from that comic book. Do you remember that panel? Remember in that comic book number 74 where Wanda meets Doctor Strange and then Doctor Strange... They're just having a full nerd comic book conversation behind me. Now, I self-identify as a nerd. In case you haven't noticed, behind me in this room is filled with Funko Pops and action figures and posters and nonsense. I am a nerd. I get it. My favourite thing in the world to do... Sorry, my phone is going off here, folks. Let me put that on silent so that I don't get disrupted. There we go. That should do it. So, as I said, I am a nerd. I totally get the whole nerd culture thing. One of my favorite things to do is to go to Comic-Con. I love it, right? I absolutely love Comic-Con. It's the best thing ever. So, I'm not giving these people a hard time because they're nerds. No, absolutely not. What I'm pissed off about is the fact that they're having their conversation directly behind me. And they're not even attempting to hide it. Like, they're not even trying to whisper, albeit whispering wouldn't have worked even at this distance. But in my view, call it controversial if you must, I don't think you should be whispering in the cinema. The cinema is time for silence and you watch the movie. You wouldn't mind if somebody whispered once in a blue moon if you heard somebody behind you saying, "Oh, what time is it?" or "Is the movie nearly over?" or something like that. Yeah, obviously, within reason, no problem. But these two people are engaged in a full conversation about the comic book origins of various scenes and characters and moments that are occurring. So anyway, I immediately get frustrated. And in any case, my partner turns around and she says, "Guys, could you stop talking, please?" And they completely ignored her. They heard her, they made eye contact with her, and they dismissed her like she was crap on the end of their shoe. Well, I'm not kidding. I lost my mind. And I'm not proud to admit what happened next. I just completely lost my cool. I don't know if you guys have ever had this in your life where you see red, where you just completely lose your mind, where you don't any longer have any control over what you're saying or how you're saying it. Like you just go, like you turn into basically an angry bull. So I turned around and I just started shouting at these guys in the middle of the film. I just started shouting at these guys. I won't be able to fully recapture what I said because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness came out a couple of years ago, if not a few. But I turned around and I was just like, "Are you guys effing kidding me? My fiance has asked you to stop talking and you've completely ignored her. We're fans and we want to watch this movie. I did not come here to listen to your conversation." And the guy was like, "Oh, goodness." Like, you could just see his eyes. He was like, "Oh, crap, I wasn't expecting this." And then he tried to articulate a defense for himself. He said, "Oh, we're allowed to whisper, mate. We're allowed to whisper." And I said, "No, you're not. Did you not see the intro before the movie comes on where they ask you to stop talking, put away your phone, remain silent for the duration of the film, and have fucking consideration for the people around you in the auditorium?" At this point, the guy's friend leans over and he was like, "No, man, he's right. We should stop talking. We should stop talking." Because he didn't have a leg to stand on. He was completely wrong. He was completely wrong. 100%. You cannot argue the case in the middle of a cinema that your conversation is justified. But it wasn't worth it. Anyway, I turned back around and they actually thankfully shut up for the rest of the film. They did. And that was fine. But it wasn't worth it. Because for the rest of the film, I sat there with my anxiety through the roof, where I felt absolutely, on edge. Because my heart rate had shot up. My blood pressure was probably sky high. And, not to mention the fact, and call this paranoia if you must, but, I'm not foolish enough to think that society is completely safe or something. But I spent the rest of the movie wondering, am I going to get bottled now? Because these guys are sat directly behind me, and they could so easily just smack me over the head if they wanted to, after what I've said to them. Despite the fact that I was 100% in the right, despite the fact that I did absolutely nothing wrong, these two people are now sat behind me, and I'm now paranoid for the rest of the movie. So it wasn't worth it. I couldn't enjoy the rest of the movie. I was sat on edge, anxiety gone through the roof. Just, it wasn't worth it. So more often than not now, when people are being irritating in the cinema, if there is another showing, I'll just leave the theatre and just go to the next showing and hope that the people in the next showing are more considerate. But it's just, yeah, it's so frustrating. I just don't know where people's decency is gone. I'll never understand it. I mean, I guess I do understand it. Saying I'll never understand it is probably selling myself a bit short there. I do understand it. People are inconsiderate. People are just going to do what they're going to do. And if they want to have a conversation, they just don't give a shit about whether or not that interrupts your experience. People do the same on their phones. They're doing the same by throwing popcorn, and people just really don't give a crap about you and your movie going experience. And I think theaters are paying a price for it. I think they're paying a price for it. The numbers of people in theaters is dwindling, as far as I'm aware. Last time I checked, those numbers are going down precipitously, and yeah, I don't see it changing unless theaters actually stand up and start making the cinema going experience pleasant again. And I just don't see that happening. I mean, they would literally have to hire bouncers, because some of these people, like those guys I turned around to, if you allow them, they will just continue to be inconsiderate. Like, their attitude is they should be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, for as long as they want. And F you for questioning them. I want to know, have you guys had similar experiences? You know, have any of you guys had to tell people to shut up and stop talking in the cinema and so on? Because, like, I swear this happens now. Like, out of every 4 visits to the cinema, it happens once to me at this point. It's like a 25% odds that I'm going to have to tell people to shut up, which is just, I mean, what are those numbers? What the hell, But also, guys, if you could just tell me as well if the stream quality is still okay, if the quality is reasonable, and if the sound is good, because I had some sound and streaming issues in the previous stream. So if you could just again reaffirm that the audio quality and the video quality is okay, I'd really appreciate it. Sound is fine. Thank you very much. That's good to hear. Yeah, I did. I found a. I found um a setting display. How do I word it? I found like a settings menu in OBS that allowed me to change some of the sound stuff. I know that makes me sound like an absolute idiot. Of course, there's lots of sound menus and so on, but yeah, it took me a while to find it because I'm an idiot when it comes to technology. So, but yeah. So, somebody actually asked me at the start of the stream, you 100% did the right thing. I bet the guy spoke aloud secretly, hoping someone overhears him and is somehow impressed with his comic book knowledge. Absolutely infuriating experience indeed. Do you know what? I actually hadn't considered that. That maybe it was an attempt at showing off. Like, maybe you're right. I mean, maybe that's what he was doing. Certainly showing off to his comrade. Um, but yeah, I hadn't considered that. That's an interesting psychological shout there, I must admit. So loud people in theater seems almost a given these days, as long as you can quiet down. But yeah, it's becoming a given, unfortunately. But yeah, somebody asked at the start of the stream, am I a Marvel or a DC guy? That's a hard question to answer. And I don't want to be the lame guy who says both. But the truth is, I really do actually have an immense amount of time for both. Growing up, Spider-Man was always my favourite character. But as an adult, Batman is my favourite character. Although I've kind of fallen out of love a little bit with Batman, because like I grew up with, well, technically I grew up with Michael Keaton's Batman. Now, don't get me wrong, the first one came out in '89 and I wasn't born till '91. But the point is, that was the Batman I grew up with. When we watched Batman at home on the TV, it was Michael Keaton's Batman that we watched, right? Batman and Batman Returns, the Tim Burton films. Saw a little bit of Adam West, the TV show Batman, but that was very, very campy, even by '90s standards. But yeah, I grew up loving Spider-Man. That was always my favorite character. Not that Spider-Man had been put to live action yet, certainly not one that I had seen. Spider-Man was my favorite character from the action figures I'd purchased and from the cartoons I'd watched on television and so on. I used to love the animated Spider-Man cartoon. It was fantastic. But as I got a little bit older, I developed an adoration for Batman because of Christopher Nolan's Batman films. I just thought that they were groundbreaking, and Heath Ledger's Joker, and goodness gracious me. I remember the anticipation for Dark Knight Rises was just, it was biblical. I mean, I just I don't think I've so looked forward to something in my whole life. You know, it was just an incredible moment. Now, I don't think the movie, as time has gone on, I don't think it's as great as I thought it was back then, but I still think it's a pretty amazing trilogy overall. But yeah, because Batman has now kind of fallen out of favor, um, oh wow, I just got a super chat from Paddy Bob, who is in fact a good friend of mine. Paddy, you're too kind. Paddy writes, I tuned in before the Strange story. What did you see tonight that annoyed you? Lol. Quick recap of what happened. Also, your thoughts on the MK thriller. Can everybody drop a heart or a like on Paddy's comment? Paddy is a very, very good friend of mine, and a very generous friend who just submitted a super chat. Thank you so much for doing that, Paddy. Just before I answer Paddy's question, can I ask you guys to tell me in the chat if you heard an audio cue when Paddy submitted his super chat there? Because I've tried to set up an audio cue, and if you heard that audio cue, could you just tell me in the chat box? If you didn't, it's okay. It probably means that I screwed up setting it up, and that's fine. Did not hear anything. No, I didn't hear crap. That's so annoying, man. I've tried so hard to set up that audio cue. Paddy might actually be the one to answer that question. He's an audio engineer. He probably knows a whole hell of a lot more about this than I do. But let me get to Paddy's question, because I don't want to forget it. So, tune in before the Strange story. What did you see tonight that annoyed you? So it wasn't. Nothing happened tonight in the cinema. I was actually at the cinema tonight. No, tonight was fine. But when I came back from the cinema tonight, I just thought, you know what? Why don't I just tell some of these cinema stories and see if other people have had similar experiences? But yeah, Paddy, my experience in the cinema has just kind of gone down the toilet. I mean, like, people are just completely inconsiderate, it would seem to me. And you probably didn't hear this at the start because you just tuned in, but I made the point that it's quite possible that I've just been exposed to a statistically anomalous sample set. So, you know, I might just be the guy who was unlucky enough to be struck by lightning, you know. In other words, my anecdotal experience may not be symptomatic of a broader trend. I could just be unlucky. So with that acknowledged, and unlucky though I might be, my experience has been, you know, quite poor of late, where the number of people who are on their phones and lighting up the whole cinema with their phones, or just like, actually, I'll tell you one other. When we went to see Matrix Resurrections, and again, now I know this is a while back, a woman took out her phone and started having a full-blown conversation in the theatre. Full conversation on her phone. And I went over and asked her to stop and to put her phone away, and she ignored me. She just completely blanked me. She just kind of gestured me away with her hand, and then continued with our phone call. At which point, my fiance absolutely frightened the life out of this woman, because my fiance went over and got right up in this person's face and started shouting at her and said, "Put your fucking phone away. We're trying to watch the movie. We're real fans of The Matrix and you're disrupting our experience." And then the woman was like terrified and like hung up the phone and started putting it into her pocket. And before my fiance walked away from her, she said, "And if I see that phone again, I'll be back. If you want to answer that phone again, you go outside." Oh, she's a legend. She's an absolute legend. But she absolutely, like, put this woman in her place, you know? And, you know, proper order. Like, sorry, consider me Old Testament here, folks, but I think my fiance did the right thing there, you know? Like, who are these people? Like, I had already asked her politely to put her phone away, and she just completely ignored me. People think they can just do whatever they want without consequence, and that just isn't the case. Not if my fiance is on the scene. But yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm experiencing, Paddy. That kind of thing is becoming quite frequent. It's like these stories are no longer a rarity. And that's quite a big sensationalist one. The the more common example of this is just people who are just scrolling on their phones and the light is very distracting, or people who just incessantly talk to one another during the cinema, during the film and so on. And yeah, it's just outrageous. So yeah, the quick recap. I told a bunch of cinema stories, Paddy. That's just another one. Um, which I had an issue watching Megan 2.0, where a bunch of teenagers behind me were punching and kicking and play fighting and throwing popcorn and laughing and joking and playing songs on their phones. Just completely outrageous behavior, and I had to turn around and tell them to shut up. There's just a never-ending supply of these stories. Went to see F1, which is quite a good film, actually. I would recommend it. And these parents had brought in their child, and like F1 is almost 3 hours, right? And they brought this like 5-year-old with them. Like, what are you doing bringing a 5-year-old to a sophisticated adult film? Like, they should have brought that 5-year-old to see How to Train Your Dragon or Lilo and Stitch, not F1. And predictably, what does the 5-year-old do? Running up and down the aisle, shouting and screaming, just being a 5-year-old. It's not his fault that he's 5, but it's his parents' fault that they brought him to a film that he has no business watching. Like, these people are nuts. What are they doing? Again, I think they just don't care about people's experience. They just don't care. And so, thoughts on the MK trailer, last thing. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I'll always be incredibly grateful that there's another MK movie on the way. Always, always, always. I'm very happy to be alive at a time where I'm getting another Mortal Kombat movie, because, this is a franchise that could just go the way of the Western and just die in terms of film, at least. I don't imagine that'll happen with the games, because the games are too profitable. But, I'm quite open to the idea, and I don't think it's an unreasonable possibility, that after this movie comes out, if it doesn't do well, we won't see another Mortal Kombat movie in my lifetime, Or if we do, the next one we'll see, I'll be 70, I mean, it's a franchise that could very easily die, cinematically speaking. So I have mixed feelings about the trailer. There's things that I liked about it and things that I didn't. So I'm not sure about Karl Urban as Johnny Cage. There's some moments in the trailer where I'm like, yeah, cool, they've nailed it. And then other moments in the trailer where I'm like, oh, don't know about that. Don't know about that. I mean, Karl Urban is like 60 years of age. It's quite old for Johnny Cage, in my view. And unfortunately, this is going to result in a Johnny Cage where every time he does something that Johnny Cage would be capable of doing, like a backflip, it's going to have to be a stunt double. It's going to have to be a switch out or a CGI'd face or whole CGI character model or something like that. And that kind of frustrates me a little bit, because there's lots of great actor / stunt performers that could have done Johnny Cage justice and been able to do the physicality of the role as well. So I have worries about stuff like that, because for me, a Mortal Kombat movie is ultimately going to be all about the choreography. Like, say what you want about that first reboot Mortal Kombat movie, but that opening 10 minutes with Scorpion and Sub-Zero is fucking epic. They nailed the choreography. They nailed it. Like, that stuff with Scorpion and the chain, and just some really cool stuff in that opening scene. Unfortunately, the choreography in the rest of the film didn't ever reach that height again. Although I think the fight at the end between Scorpion and Sub-Zero was another high point in the movie. It's a movie that has a great opening and a great end, but the middle wasn't as great as it could have been. But that said, I really did like the rebooted Mortal Kombat. I'm hoping that the sequel is good. So yeah, look, I'm not 100% sure on Karl Urban as Johnny Cage. Something else that concerned me was Scorpion swinging through the trailer almost like he was Spider-Man, using his chain to travel through what looks like Netherrealm or something like that. That concerned me a bit. I mean, yeah. but they nail some other stuff. Like some of the environments look great. I thought Shao Kahn looked really cool. The violence is on point. There's not enough choreography in the trailer to tell if they've improved on the choreography front. And I'm hoping that they do. Yeah, Noob, man. Noob looks like. I can't wait to see Noob. I can't wait to see Noob Saibot on film. The only other time we've seen Noob on film, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Noob appears in Annihilation. No, the only other time Noob has been on film is in Mortal Kombat Conquest, the TV show from the 90s. So I'll be excited to see a cinematic translation of the character, you know. But yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm a mega, 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 mega Mortal Kombat fan, and like this room is filled with Mortal Kombat Funkos and action figures, and I can proudly say now that I've met most, not all, of the 1995 Mortal Kombat cast. So I've met Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, aka Shang Tsung. I've met Lyndon Ashby, aka Johnny Cage. I've met Robin Shu, aka Liu Kang. I've met Lee Cook. Yeah, I think that's his name, who played Reptile. I've met Francois Petit, who played Sub-Zero. And I think that's everyone. I still haven't met Scorpion. Scorpion's on. Oh yeah, I've met Christopher Lambert, who played Raiden. I've actually met him a few times now at this point. This is all because of Comic-Con, folks. I go to Comic-Con quite a bit. So I've met all of those people, and that's my childhood right there. I mean, I wore out the VHS tape of Mortal Kombat when I was a kid. I completely wore out that VHS tape. Like, I literally watched it so many times that the tape started to wear on it, and it started getting grainy, and you get that fuzzy kind of picture because I just watched it too many times. I used to just come home from school and put it on again. Rewind it, put it on, rewind it, put it on, rewind it, put it on. I mean, Jesus Christ above, I burned that tape into the ground. So meeting, like, I gotta be honest, I burst out crying when I met Sub-Zero. There's photos of me, and he strangely, and I didn't expect this, he started crying as well. Like, it turns out he's actually a very emotive, nice guy who's very moved by fans when they are happy to meet him. So he started crying and I started crying and we hugged, and it's one of the happiest moments, Comic-Con moments ever, where I got to hug Sub-Zero. Like, I mean, like, Sub-Zero is a character I used to always pick in the game growing up. Like, I used to play Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat 2009. I used to play Sub-Zero in Deadly Alliance, the game. And yeah, like, I couldn't believe I was meeting Sub-Zero, and I've had that reaction with all of the other cast members I've met as well, and yeah, I'm a mega mega fan. So I just can't wait for this new Mortal Kombat movie, and I hope it delivers. I notice now at this point that I probably haven't said anything positive about the trailer. I think they're nailing the tone. I'll say that. They're nailing the tone. They're getting that tone that's in the games quite right. It's quite serious, but comedic. It's like you could get your head chopped off, but you know Johnny Cage is going to deliver a cool one-liner here in a moment, right? And the way Karl Urban delivered some of the lines is perfect. And his look, even, like, aesthetically, he looks perfect with the hair slicked back, and he's wearing like the tracksuit and stuff. Like, he really does look the part. And one other thing I've heard, which I think is quite positive about the new film, is that Cole Young, the character of Cole Young, who was a new addition to the Mortal Kombat franchise and was our POV character in the first film, apparently he's not the main character in the second film. Johnny Cage is going to be. So it's going to be like a fish out of water story with Karl Urban's Johnny Cage. That's probably how they got Karl Urban to sign on, because Karl Urban probably isn't going to sign on to play a small role. The idea of leading a film was probably quite attractive to him. And so that's probably how they got him. And so, yeah, apparently he's going to be the lead character, which is very exciting. Because Karl Urban's great. I mean, I loved The Boys, and I loved Dread. I think he's great. I've never, um, I never thought he would never have occurred to me. So Paddy, who commented recently, we used to have fun conversations when I lived back in Ireland, thinking about our fan castings of who we would cast as the characters of Mortal Kombat, and of all of the people who we ever named for Johnny Cage, I can assure you, Carl Urban wasn't one of them. So it's it could potentially turn out to be quite inspired casting. I'm very excited to see the film. Interestingly enough, I'm not going to actually be here when it comes out. I'm not going to be in the British Isles. I'm going to be in Florida when the film hits. So I'll actually be going to see the film in IMAX in Universal Studios in Florida when it comes out, because it just so happens that the movie drops when I'm on holidays there in October. So that's the plan. So it'll be very interesting to see Mortal Kombat 2 with an American audience in Florida. That'll be exciting. We'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, I remember when we used to think about our fan castings. We used to think like, oh, Michael Fassbender for Lord Raiden, and interestingly enough, Mark Strong as Quan Chi. Interestingly enough, one of our castings actually came true. We used to name Hiroyuki Sanada for Scorpion. We used to say he would be a perfect Scorpion. Lo and behold, it actually came to fruition. So, maybe they were listening because, yeah, they they cast him in the end, didn't they? Interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm cautiously kind of optimistic. The director is returning, and he claims to have learned lessons from the first film. So one of the complaints of the first film is that there was too much shaky cam and cut, 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 cut when it came to the fight scenes. So he's claiming that he's learned his lessons on the first film, and reading between the lines, that seems to be a hint that they're going to go for a more Hong Kong style fighting film, which is music to my ears. I mean, that's exactly what every fighting film should be. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, Hong Kong choreography and martial arts films are renowned because they don't cut away, right? If you watch a fight scene and it just keeps cutting from, say, the fist to the face to the floor to the leg to the wide shot to the close up, cut, 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 as the punches are being thrown. The reason that's happening is because the editor is trying to hide bad choreography. If you and I choreographed a fight between us, it would look terrible if the camera just held and watched us play out that fight scene. Because we're not stuntmen, we're not martial artists, we're not good at choreography, right? And so the only way we could make that fight scene barely watchable is if we hide the imperfections in editing. Cut, 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 to avoid the imperfections. Hong Kong style doesn't cut away, it holds. Hong Kong cinematography, when it comes to martial arts, is renowned for these lengthy takes and wide shots. So some American films have embraced this, and when they've done it, it has been phenomenal. The Matrix is a perfect example. Right? When I say American, I mean Hollywood. I know a lot of The Matrix was shot in Australia and so on. I get that, fine. But it's a Hollywood movie, right? If you watch the first Matrix film, they completely embraced that Hong Kong style, more to the point they hired the Hong Kong people to do the choreography and to help with the filming of those scenes. Which is why The Matrix to this day holds up as one of the great martial arts, not just great films of all time, but one of the greatest martial arts films of all time. Watch that fight in the dojo between Morpheus and Neo. Watch the fight in the subway between Neo and Agent Smith. And it's just breathtaking. The camera holds, it's wide shots, it's expertly crafted. And if you want to see the best of the best of the best of this kind of stuff, go back and just watch Jackie Chan's filmography. Right, Jackie Chan stuff. Go and watch the first Police Story. absolutely bloody incredible. Right? Go watch Dragons Forever. These movies, what was it? Operation Condor, I think, is another one. There's so many great Jackie Chan films, and they're not great because the story is great. They're not great because the cinematography is breathtaking or something. They're not great because the score is going to blow you away. No, they're great because the fight scenes are incredible. They're great because of that Hong Kong martial arts approach to the fight scenes. And it's just absolutely incredible. So I'm hoping, I dare say I'm praying. If there's a God out there that's real, let me know and I'll pray to that one. I'm hoping and praying that the new Mortal Kombat movie embraces that Hong Kong style. And fingers crossed we get an incredible martial arts film. But I don't expect it to do very well financially. I mean, I hope it makes good money. The trailer broke some records, according to recent reports. Apparently it's like broken the R-rated trailer record or something like that. So that bodes well, hopefully. I hope it's a success, because if it's a success, we'll get a part 3. And I'm happy to be living in a world where I'm getting another Mortal Kombat movie. And I would absolutely love more of them. And yeah, watch this space. We'll see what happens. I'm also very happy to be living in a world where we are on the precipice of another Alien movie, which hasn't been revealed yet, but there's an Alien movie in active development. There's a new Predator movie that's due to come out any day now, Predator Badlands. And there's an Alien TV series going to come out any day now called Alien Earth. I'll tell you, it's a good time to be a movie nerd. It's a good time to be a genre fan, because I'm a massive, massive fan of Alien and Predator, and I can't wait to see all this stuff. Also, let me know in the chat box if you saw the new Predator animated film, Killer of Killers. Drop a thumbs up or a yes or something into the chat box if you saw Predator Killer of Killers. I would love to know. If there's anybody here who's seen that animated film. If it's a no, you can tell me no. That's no problem. But I would be very curious to know if any of you guys have seen that, because I know there's 24 of you in here, so statistically there's probably somebody in here who's seen it, I would have thought. If you haven't seen it, let me just say, so nobody dropped in thumbs up or anything like that, so I would assume that there's nobody in here who's seen it. If you haven't seen it and you liked the original Predator film, the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, go watch it. Go watch it. It's a very, very enjoyable. I mean, all I can say is that I thought it was fantastic, but I'm in safekeeping. The film has some stellar reviews. Actually, let me try and pull this up. So I'm going to open a new tab here. And I'm going to write Killer of Killers. And I'm going to open up Rotten Tomatoes. And I'll see if I can get this on screen for you guys. I'm going to try and be all fancy here. And get this on screen. Right. So in theory, that should now be on stream. But the only way I'm going to know that is if I click in here. Yes, it is on stream. I can see it. Cool. So if I just zoom in here. So that's a pretty damn good result, wouldn't you say? 95%. So 103 critic reviews with a 95% rating. I'd say that's a pretty damn good result. And the audience rating is 88%. The critics' consensus says, and I quote, plunking the Predator into a series of inspired matchups with a striking visual palette, Killer of Killers is a lean, mean, and just plain awesome addition to the iconic sci-fi franchise. I agree with that. I think that's a very, very fair, let's call it a blurb. Very, very fair summary. I couldn't agree more. So if you haven't seen this film, I would highly recommend that you watch it. But something else I'm going to say to you right now is, and don't look this up, right? Do not look this up. Because if you look it up, it's going to be spoiled for you. But this film, in the last 24 hours, I kid you not, in the last 24 hours, they have added a new post-credit scene. And it's absolutely amazing. So, I couldn't recommend more highly that you watch this film, folks. It is a great entry to the Predator franchise. Very, very satisfying. And it has a new post-credit scene that they added in the last, like, literally they added it like yesterday or the day before, like in the last 24, 48 hours. New post-credit scene, which is extremely exciting for the future of the franchise. And that's all I'll say, because I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, watch it if you haven't. Well worth a watch. So yeah, as a Predator and an Alien fan, I'm eating good. I'm eating good in the next several months, it would seem. As a genre fan, more broadly, I just like to see them get Terminator right next. That would be nice. You know, there hasn't been a good Terminator film in quite a long time, and the last few attempts have been pretty questionable. Terminator Dark Fate really upset me. And the one before that, was it Genesis? Again, really upset me. It's not fantastic. And yeah, there hasn't been a good Terminator film in a while. I will say I do have some time for Terminator 4, which is Salvation. I think they got some things right in that film, but I'm not going to pretend it's a masterpiece. And I do have a soft spot for Terminator 3, but I think that's because it came out in 2003 when I was like 12. Right, because in 2001 I was 10. Yeah, so I was 12 when Terminator 3 came out. So it's very difficult for me to separate my nostalgia from genuine criticism when it comes to T3. Because they got me in that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Gullible age, for lack of a better description. And the nostalgia I have for it, because that was the first Terminator movie I ever saw in a cinema, right? Because I was born in 91, so, you know, T1 had already come and gone, and T2, I think that came out in like 91 or 92. Suffice to say, I was a baby when that was in theaters. So Terminator 3 was the first Terminator film I ever saw in the theater, and I loved it as a child. And I have to admit, don't shoot me, don't hate me, but I still have quite an unabashed appreciation for it as an adult. But again, just to be clear, I can't tell where my genuine objective critique ends and my nostalgia begins. I can't disambiguate the two from one another. So I'm kind of stuck in this kind of critics no man's land, where I can't actually be objective and think about it in a fair manner. All I can say is that when I watch it to this very day, I have an immensely enjoyable time while watching it. So, you know, call me an idiot if you must, and perhaps that's fair. But yeah, that's T3, folks. Have any of you seen T3? Is it just me? Am I the only Terminator fan? Actually, I have a Terminator action figure within reaching distance here. Let me grab this. Look at me. I'm about to nerd out with an action figure, right? So this is why I am a nerd, right? I'm actually a big time nerd. Look at how awesome that is. Wow. Look at that. How cool is that, folks? So my plan is to get that signed. This is actually quite an old action figure, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can find the date, the production date on this. Yeah, so this action figure came out in 2002. This came out in 2002. That's crazy. Is there anybody in this chat whose birthday is 2002 or younger? Because this action figure might very well be older than some of you people. 2002, folks. So what are we, 2025? So 23 years old by my count. I'm not good at math, but yeah. 23 years old. So this action figure might very well be older than some of you people watching. Although if my analytics are to be believed, my audience actually skews quite old, which is fine by me. I appreciate you no matter what age you are, but it's just funny to think that the action figure might actually be older than some of you people. T3 is okay, says one person. My most prized possession in my movie memorabilia collection. Oh God, that's hard to say. My prized possession might actually be something that's arriving next week. So I'm not going to tell you how much this cost because you wouldn't respect me anymore. But I actually have a life-size Predator bust arriving at my house next week, all the way from China. Life-size Predator bust. Now, when I say life-size, it's not the entire Predator's body. It's from the chest up. So it's a bust, but it's a life-size bust. So it's a 1-to-1 scale. And I'll just put it this way. It's going to arrive in 3 boxes. 2 of those boxes can't fit through the front door of my house. So, yeah, you tell me. I don't know how I'm going to get this into my house, folks. I'm probably going to have to unbox this statue outside my house and carry the contents of the box into the house piece by piece because it won't come through the front door. That's how big this item is. So that's going to be a nightmare. To put it mildly, it's going to be a nightmare. I don't know how I'm going to fit it in the house or where the hell it's going to go. And the money that I've spent on it is just madness. It's just absolute madness. So yeah, again, look, listen, I don't drink alcohol and I don't take other substances that might be considered illegal. I'm not naming certain things explicitly because I know YouTube can be funny about those things. So I'm not a booze hound and I don't waste money going to the pub and so on. And I say waste just because it wouldn't be my thing. If you enjoy that and you consider that a fruitful use of your money, then more power to you. I'm not here to yuck somebody else's yum. Good for you. All I'm saying is that I don't spend my money on things like that. I save my money and then I spend it on pop culture memorabilia and so on. I mean, I've just got this whole room is just full of stuff. Autographs and statues and collectibles and memorabilia and so on. So yeah, I've actually got one other item within grabbing distance here that I'm going to show you guys. I don't know if you will appreciate this. Let me see if I can get this on screen. Where is my... Okay, here we go. So this is the chat box is kind of in the way slightly. This is a life-size Predator 2 bio helmet. But what's really cool about this is that it is signed by none other than Danny Glover himself. Danny Glover, who is the star of Predator 2. So that's a really, really, really cool item. This isn't wearable. It's a display piece. It's specifically a display piece. But it's quite sizable, right? If I put that next to my head, I mean, maybe it looks smaller now because my head is so bloody massive. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I purchase with my money, folks. And then I bring this stuff to conventions and I get it signed for stupid amounts of money. But yeah, I am king of the nerds. There is no question about that. I eat and breathe it, folks. I absolutely eat and breathe it. I and drink it and sleep it, and yeah. I'm actually meeting Lawrence Fishburne. Speaking of the Matrix, I'm meeting Lawrence Fishburne, Morpheus himself from the Matrix. I'll be meeting him in a few weeks' time because he's appearing at a Comic Con here in the UK, and I am absolutely ecstatic. I cannot wait to meet Lawrence Fishburne. My God, I cannot wait. He is a legend. I mean, he's not just Morpheus, right? He's in the John Wick films. He was in Man of Steel. Um, wasn't he in Apocalypse Now back in the day? Right? I mean, he was in Event Horizon, which is another great little cult classic of a horror film. And yeah, he's just an absolute legend, isn't he? Like, I mean, there's no two ways about it. This man is Hollywood royalty, and I absolutely cannot wait to meet him. So yeah, we're going to be meeting him at a Comic Con here in the UK. So yeah, I oh goodness gracious me, I absolutely love Comic Con. Just a quick reminder for anybody who might have joined, if you are willing, could you please drop a like on the video? Because it costs you nothing. It'll only take you a second. It costs you absolutely nothing. And it helps out the channel enormously. It means YouTube will recommend the video to more people and more people will see the live while it's active. So if you want to be nice and you want to help me out a little bit, just hit like. That would be fantastic. And if you want to take it a step further, if you're in a financial position to do so, you could also consider submitting a super chat, which would help out the channel enormously. And when you submit that super chat, you can ask me a question, which I'll answer and dedicate some time to. So that would be massively appreciated as well, if you are both willing and able. That is, I don't want to put any financial pressure on anybody. But yeah, so meeting Lawrence Fishburne in a few weeks' time at Comic Con, and I just I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe that's happening. Hopefully he doesn't cancel. Nothing is a sure thing. I'm not saying he has a reputation for cancelling. If anything, he has a reputation for the opposite. But things happen, you know. Don't count your chickens until they've hatched is all I'm saying. You know, sometimes you can get very excited for a guest and they can drop out because of filming commitments. It's that would be the concern. You know, celebrities don't always show up after they've booked for a Comic Con because they end up getting a filming commitment in the interim, and then they drop out of the Comic Con because movies are their bread and butter, not Comic Cons, you know. Ooh. What the hell are you talking about? Fish fingers and custard. What the? I have no idea. I'm obviously just not on the. I'm not in on the joke. Whatever the hell that's about. But yeah, the movie I went to see. Oh, it's a Doctor Who reference. Oh, well, forgive me. Yeah, I've never watched an episode of Doctor Who, folks. I'm told it's amazing. I'm not here to say it isn't. I know nothing about it other than other people have said that it's phenomenal. But yeah, I've never seen an episode. Part of the reason I've never gotten into it or never watched it is because it's quite a daunting task, isn't it? I mean, like, Doctor Who is so old that aren't there like black and white episodes of Doctor Who? Am I mistaken? Like, if I was to watch it from the start, I'd have to go back quite a number of decades to get into it, wouldn't I? So that can be quite off-putting. It's not quite the same, but the principle is the same. It's like the same reason that a lot of people struggle to get on board the Marvel train, because to understand what's happening in Marvel in 2025, you have to go and watch about 32 movies and six different shows, some of which have multiple seasons. Like, it's quite an undertaking. It starts to feel a bit like homework, you know? So I think that's definitely an issue. I've heard tell that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is kind of rebooting with Secret Wars, the final Avengers movie. It's actually going to reboot the entire universe, and that Marvel is going to spin out the new X-Men from that movie, and they're just going to reset the entire universe essentially, and we'll have a new Tony Stark, a new Captain America. The whole thing will just run from the start again, which was inevitable since the departure of those characters. So we'll see what happens. Doctor Who started in the late 50s or early 60s. I forget exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's quite old. It really is quite old, no doubt. No doubt. Um, so, yeah. Yeah, the other thing I was going to talk to you guys about. Yeah, yeah, no, I see that, Gary. Yeah, no, that's fair. We're in agreement. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is just the kind of general state of the world right now, for lack of a better description. I mean, Donald Trump is in the White House again, and he's coming out with classics like Mr. Japan. Have you guys seen that footage? I'm laughing not because I think it's actually funny, but because if I don't laugh, I think the only other option is to cry. I mean, he forgets. Like now speaking of forgetting, the irony, I he was talking about some Japanese ambassador, or it might have been the Japanese prime minister, or some. He was referring to some Japanese political person, and he forgets the Japanese person's name in the interview, and just starts referring to him as Mr. Japan. I mean, what are you supposed to say about that? Like, how is this guy the president of the United States? I don't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong, folks. Look, I'm not here to dictate to Americans who they should and shouldn't be electing, but like just from the outside looking in, I would have thought that the president's job at the very least is to do his interlocutor the the privilege of remembering his name, right? But like just what's going on in the world right now, I mean, like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, what's going on with Iran, um, Russia, Ukraine. I mean, I'm going to tell you guys something right now, and you're probably going to think I'm very, very silly. And I hope you won't think I'm silly, but viewer discretion is advised. You might think I'm a bit silly. This might sound super paranoid, and it may make me sound like an absolute nutcase. But I kid you not. I kid you not. I went ahead and purchased iodine tablets to keep in the cupboard downstairs just to be safe. For those of you who don't know, iodine tablets are used during a nuclear attack because they fill your what is it? It's your thyroid. They fill your thyroid with non-ionizing radiation so that the bad radiation can't get in. That's my rudimentary understanding. I'm not an expert in this, so take all of that with a grain of salt. Sorry. But I've literally gone to the effort of purchasing iodine tablets because I'm so concerned about the possibility of nuclear war at this point. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Like, am I foolish for having such concerns? I mean, Putin, who's in control of Russia, is not, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, is not a stable individual. Certainly not when he's butthurt and his ego is bruised. And Ukraine isn't going swimmingly for him, not as well as he was hoping it was going to go. I mean, people are referring to Russia now as a paper tiger, and big, strong men like Putin don't like to be referred to as paper tigers, folks. I mean, I could see him very easily pressing a red button, proverbially speaking, right? I could see him doing something drastic. I could see that happening. What's going on with Iran, right? Trump's people bombed Iran, bunker busters, supposedly destroying their nuclear capability or setting them back decades. But then reports came out recently that actually, no, if anything, they just set them back a few weeks, and they might now have just caused Iran to speed up their nuclear proliferation efforts because of this attack. So by trying to prevent it, we've actually spurred it on. Like, guys, I don't know. I would really welcome some people talking me down here. So if you've got some reasons to be hopeful, if you've got some reasons to be glass half full in this present political moment, jump into the chat and tell me, because I don't see it, folks. I'm very worried. Like, I put my money where my mouth is, right? I went and I purchased iodine tablets from Amazon, and they're in the press downstairs because I didn't want my partner and I to be up shit creek without a paddle if indeed we get the announcement that a nuke has dropped tomorrow morning. Because in the event, assuming that you're not in the blast zone, in the event of such an attack, you would then be reliant on the public infrastructure and the efficiency of the government to get iodine tablets to you before it's too late. Because if you don't get the iodine tablets into you, I think, if I recall it correctly when I was reading, it was like you got to get them into you within 72 hours of exposure to nuclear material, or to radioactive material, rather. So you've got to get them into your system quickly, basically. I wouldn't like to be relying on any government in the world to be efficient in such a situation. I wouldn't like to be relying on any government apparatus to get tablets to you in under 72 hours. Right? Royal Mail, which is the government mailing system here, mail system, postage system in the UK, they're just delivering letters and they get it wrong half the time. I remember sending an item for special delivery, which in the UK is guaranteed delivery by 1 p.m. the following day. So if I post it on Thursday, it should be with the receiver of the package by 1 p.m. on Friday, right? I sent a package by special delivery multiple times now, and it arrived 3 days later in the evening time, right? That's the efficiency of Royal Mail. So if that's a testament or an insight into the efficiency of the UK government at the very least, or the English government, the British government, I should say. If that's a microcosm, then I wouldn't like to be counting on them for my iodine tablets when the shit hits the fan. So I've decided to cut out the middleman, and I purchased some myself. I bought a 3-month supply for 2 people, that being my partner and I, just to make sure that we are safe should something happen. I mean, safe-ish. Obviously, if the bomb falls into my lap, I'm screwed either way. But in the event that we're in the zone that has been irradiated and hours count, it's good to know that we have those tablets there if and when. The reason I hesitated to bring this up, and the reason I'm worried about bringing it up, is because I worry that people will think that I'm some kind of you see them in films sometime, and these people exist in the real world. These like preparationists who've built a bunker beneath their house, and they've got tins of soup and packets of powdered milk for days, and like these people who are basically planning for Armageddon. Like, I'm not there. I'm not planning or expecting Armageddon. I just wanted to have those tablets there just as a kind of a fail-safe. And so I hope I don't sound like a paranoid lunatic by saying what I'm saying. But yeah, it is concerning. Joshua says there, I don't think UK is a top target. Yeah, I mean, fine. But the UK wouldn't have to be a top target, would they? If a nuclear bomb drops, it's the air that will send irradiated particles to countries that haven't been hit. I mean, when the nuclear power plant went into meltdown in Pripyat in Ukraine, the so-called Chernobyl disaster, I'm not intimately familiar with the history, but my understanding is when it comes to the irradiated material that lands hundreds of miles around Chernobyl were also irradiated and were recommended to take iodine tablets. So you don't actually have to be the country that gets attacked necessarily. And I wouldn't be 100% convinced that the UK isn't under threat, by the way. I think some of our ally ships, our our camaraderie with the Americans definitely puts us on some kind of a hit list. Our willingness to send weapons to help the Ukrainians definitely puts us on Russia's hit list and so on. So there's reasons to be worried, right? There's reasons to be worried. Um, yeah, Paddy mentions the water gets poisoned. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. The water can become irradiated, but it's not just that. It's the land, it's the farmland, and so on. The animals, etc. It all gets irradiated. I mean, the ocean. I've taught a little bit of geography in my time as a teacher. The ocean is a gigantic conveyor belt. If the fish in and around an area that gets irradiated get irradiated too, which is quite likely, the ocean is a conveyor belt that brings things all over the world. You know, like, here's a startling fact: you can go to the Arctic now and find KFC buckets because the KFC bucket that was thrown in a river in England ends up in the Arctic through the ocean conveyor belt, right? So if an ocean conveyor belt, a current in other words, can bring a KFC bucket from England to the bloody Arctic, a fish that's irradiated can certainly arrive on our shores from an irradiated part of the sea. And then we capture that fish and then we consume that fish and we're eating irradiated material and so on. So it's not impossible to see how we would get poisoned through the water, through the land, through the animals we eat, and through the food, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's quite important actually to have some kind of plan in place. And so my little paranoid moment of the year has been to purchase some iodine tablets so that we're safe in the event of some nuclear attack, even if it's not on British soil, which is where I live at the moment, folks. I am Irish originally, of course, but I'm from I'm from Ireland originally, but I live in England for employment reasons. So yeah, it's a scary world, is what I'm saying. It's a frightening time to be alive. The political situation is absolutely dire, and no matter where you look in the news, it's tens of thousands of children dead here, or hundreds of thousands of people dead there, and like nuclear proliferation and war and terrorism and like what do you this is why do you know what, this is going to come full circle. This is why I want to go to the fucking cinema and sit down and watch a movie and not be interrupted by ignorant people sat behind me, for Christ's sake. Talk about first world problems, eh? This is why I want to go to the cinema and just watch my movie in peace. Could you just give me that at least? Can I just watch the movie? No? Is that not allowed? Is that not allowed? No, I have to be irritated and annoyed by people who sit behind me. I just want to forget about Ukraine and Russia for a moment. I just want to forget about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I want to forget about nuclear proliferation and the chaos that's happening in the world right now. I just want to forget it. I don't want to think about the iodine tablets in the cupboard. I want to sit down, I want to watch the movie, and I want to have a nice time. Oh, goodness, somebody just realised I'm Irish. Did the accent not give it away, buddy? Oh my god, that reminds me. Two people in the last week, two separate people, I mean, maybe it's the same person on different accounts, I don't know, but two separate people on the same video this week accused me of faking my Irish accent. Now, that's a first. That's never happened to me in my life. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong with my speech patterns or my accent or whatnot, because this is just how I naturally talk. But I don't know what went wrong there, but there seems to be at least a party of two who were convinced that I'm faking, that I'm not really Irish. What I would gain from that is unclear to me. So I'm not sure what's going on in their minds, but they commented on the video, so at least they helped with engagement and the algorithm, so thanks for doing that, I guess. But their contribution was to tell me that I have a fake Irish accent. So anyway, it's the first time hearing of it. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they were right and it turned out this was just a very a very committed performance. But no, I've not heard of Justin. Unfortunately, no. Free beer. Oh, I wish. I'm actually not, guys. I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm not an. I don't drink. I'm not an alcohol guy. I have absolutely. Gary's convinced I'm Irish. Well, that's a relief. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. It's 2-1 in their favor right now until somebody else tells me that they're convinced as well. Then we might get a draw. Does my vote count? It'd be funnier if I was a completely fake AI. Yeah, yeah, indeed. That's another thing, man. That's really speaking of things that I'm worried about in the world right now. The whole AI thing is absolutely fucking terrifying. Like it's super, super scary. I have no words. I mean, it looks like my connection just dropped for some reason. Let's see if that comes back on. Wait for it. There we go. Right. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Yeah, lagging. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I got a notification here saying that something went wrong as well. So I'm not so sure what that's about. Let's see if it's corrected itself. Are you guys, I'm assuming you guys are still hearing me then. It says stream status poor. Sorry about this, folks. I think the internet has just decided to crap out a little bit for some reason. Let's refresh that. Okay, there's my chat back. I'm just waiting to see if the signal status improves because it still says poor. It seems okay. Yeah, I think we're back to normal. Yeah, yeah, people are saying I'm clear on their end. Was a little choppy on my end. Just going to refresh this page and see what happens. See if it tells me that the connection is any better. Yeah, it's saying that YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know why that's happening. It's really weird. Who knows why that's happening? Right? I mean, if you guys are saying that it sounds fine, then I'll take your word for it. Um, let's just see again. My cell phone's been acting up the past few days. That's fine. Yeah. So all of you guys seem to say it was fine. So um, it's just my readout here is telling me that YouTube is not receiving enough video signal. So it seems like there is an issue. I do wonder if there's a way of changing the the kilobytes that are being received, but I'm not going to be able to figure that out now live in the stream. So yeah, maybe it's on YouTube's end, but yeah, it still says poor signal. So it cut out for a couple of seconds. So irritating. Just click refresh again just to make sure. Bob says output settings. Yeah, can I change the kilobyte output setting? Because maybe there's a limit on it. Where would output settings be in OBS? Let me see if I can find that. So, would it be in properties? Oh god, no. It's not that. Settings. Output. Okay, let's have a quick peek here. Video bitrate. Oh, I can actually increase it. I don't know if this is going to kill the stream, so I apologize in advance. What does... Because YouTube gives me a specific... Right, so this could go badly, folks, but I found the bitrate setting, and the note was recommended bitrate, recommended that you stream a bitrate of 6,800 kilobytes. Okay, so I'm going to massively increase the kilobyte thing to 6,000, and then we'll see if the stream just explodes. Which might happen. So I apologize in advance, but it might fix all of these problems. So I need at least 6,800, it says. So I'm going to set it to exactly 6,800 and see if that fixes my problem. Warning, recording with the software encoder at a different quality than the stream will require extra CPU usage if you stream and record at the same time. Okay. Let's see what happens. Right, I just increased the output. And let's see if that makes a difference. Right, maybe it won't make a difference straight away because I'm already streaming. This might be a situation where I have to stop the stream and start it again. Take an iodide tablet before the explosion. That's funny. That's funny, man. Right, I'm definitely outputting way more kilobytes because I can see the readout here. The CPU usage is 33% and 60 frames per second. So that's looking better now. And let me just click refresh here and see if that makes a difference. Right. It still says YouTube is not receiving enough video. Oh, guys, I just don't know. This is the joys of streaming. All I wanted to do was have a chat with you guys and answer a few super chats and just have a nice time. But it does it immediately, says Bob. Well, Bob, I'll take your word for it. So I can confirm right now that my stream is now outputting at a much higher, what do they call it, bit rate. So, yeah, looking down in the bottom right-hand corner of OBS now, it's like 6,900 and sometimes it jumps up to 7,000 KBs. So the bit rate is now much, much higher. And, yeah, that should help with the stream quality, I would have thought. So, fingers crossed on that one. And, it's just that the stream status on YouTube's actual page is staying at a description of quote-unquote poor, P-O-O-R. So I don't appear to be able to get that to go away. YouTube just decided that the stream quality was poor and they're sticking with that story. So it is what it is, I'm afraid. But yeah. So long as you guys aren't experiencing any symptoms of a poor stream, then that's fine. No, I can't lower it, Bob, because it was down at like 2,000 and YouTube was telling me persistently that 2,000 is too low, that I need to have it up at 6,800 kilobytes. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the situation. As far as I can tell, you guys aren't complaining of any video or sound issues right now, so I'm just going to strike that up to a win. It says that it should be okay right now. But, so yeah, while I'm at it, because I know some other people have joined, let me just remind you, if you're watching right now and you haven't hit the like button, please do. It costs you nothing and it helps out the channel enormously. It gets the live recommended to more people, and it'll be seen by more people after it becomes a VOD on the channel and so on. So if you could just take a moment and hit that like button, I would sincerely appreciate it. And other than that, if you can afford it, and if you're willing and able, please do consider submitting a super chat, because super chats and patrons and people who donate, they are the lifeblood of the channel. When you submit that super chat, submit a question along with it that I can answer and we can discuss. I would really, really sincerely appreciate that. But there's a way, but I forgot my assumption, Bob, is that a lot of this stuff is going to take effect after I reset. But look, the point is, every single one of these lives I do, I learn something else. I figure things out as I'm going along, so that's okay. Indeed, yeah, R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I saw that. It really it causes a very sad thought to cross my mind. I wasn't a fan of Hulk Hogan, and I've never been a fan of professional wrestling or anything like that. I mean, I did. Oh wow! I just got another super chat. That's incredibly kind of you from. Oh God, if I pronounced your name incorrectly, can you please just spell it, or just pronounce it phonetically as a comment? But this comes from Paypaver, Paypaver 4 or Papaver. I'm not sure which one it is, but $2 there from Paypaver, Papaver 4, who writes, "No complaints with your content. You're awesome." That's incredibly kind of you to say. I mean, I do insist when when you submit a super chat, it's so lovely that you've done that just to say something nice. That just means so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. But I would love you to get more out of the super chat. So do feel free to submit a question or something that you'd like to discuss as well. Because I want to give you more of my time when you're generous enough to submit a super chat like that. So even if you just drop a comment, not another super chat, mind you, if you just drop a comment to follow that, I'll gladly answer it if you have a question or something like that, because you've been so kind. That's very much appreciated, I must say. But yeah, guys, it's we've lost a couple of legends in the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan. I mean, these people are iconic. I don't think anybody could deny that. Whether you liked them or didn't like them, whether you were a fan or not, these people are and were icons, right? And I don't know. It might be just because I'm an atheist and I think death is the end, but it's like Hulk Hogan, this absolute mountain of a man, like the strength of 10 men in one man, and now he's just dead and gone. I seem to recall reading that he had a cardiac arrest, perhaps. And he's just gone now, right? In his 70s, right? In his 70s. I mean, I'm 33. I don't have a long time to go before I hit 70, folks. I mean, am I going to pop my clogs in my 70s? If so, I don't have very long left. I mean, we sleep for like 35% of our time on Earth. So even if I have 40 years left, like, I don't actually have 40 years left. Right? If I sleep, let's say I only sleep 25% of that time, that means I only have 30 years left, really. Right? I mean, that's terrifying. Terrifying. And this first 30 years just flew by. Right? I'm 33, and the time, I just blinked. I feel like I was in school as a child yesterday. I blinked, and now I'm a 33-year-old adult. It's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Josh there is 19. Josh, I'll tell you, you're going to blink and you're going to be 29, my friend. You're going to blink and you're going to be 29. And then you'll blink again and you'll be in your mid-30s. Life is so painfully short. It's nuts. I've been living in England now over a decade, and I don't know where that time went. I do not know where that time went. It's just madness. Absolute madness. We're all going to be dead soon. That is what I can tell you. I'm just imagining someone who just joined the stream right now, like they literally joined in this moment, and the first thing they heard was, "We're all going to be dead soon." Welcome to Magic Skeptics podcast. Welcome to the live, folks. It's a cheery one, I tell you. I'm 48 in less than 3 weeks. Yeah, you got some years on me. You definitely got some years on me, that's for sure. But that said, you're not that much older than me. I mean, I'm 33, right? I'm 33. I'm assuming you're about to tell me that I'm going to blink and then I'll be 48. It's just, yeah, it's very, very scary. It's scary. I mean, it shouldn't be scary because I don't think death is something to be feared. I mean, if I'm right and death is just the end and there's no respawns and we just cease to exist, well, I wasn't worrying about anything 1,000 years ago, so there's no reason to suppose that I'll be worrying about anything 1,000 years from now. Death will just be the end of my consciousness, and that's fine. But that said, I guess it's just evolutionary, isn't it? We are we're evolved creatures with a capacity and a desire for survival. Even when survival might not actually be optimal, even when survival might be painful, we still want to survive. I mean, there are exceptions to this rule. Some people don't want to survive, and I think they're in a small minority. But the key point is, despite the fact that I logically, like, I can reason to the conclusion that death isn't something that's actually scary. Despite that, I still can't shake the feeling that it's something to dread, you know? I think for just being human for a moment, you have to acknowledge that that's the case, that death is a scary thing. I suppose it's not that death is a scary thing, it's that dying is a scary thing. Because death is rather distinct from dying, isn't it? Death is just you not existing anymore. Big whoop. But it's your manner of dispatch, right? Like you can die in a lot of different ways, and some of them are not so fun, are they? Those people who spend their last 10, 20 years rotting away in a hospital bed. My own grandfather went that way. Alzheimer's, bed sores, right? Forgetting who he was and who his loved ones were and so on. I mean, it's difficult, folks. It's difficult. Sometimes I think to myself, and forgive me for the how morbid this thought is, but sometimes I think it's a blessing to walk out in front of a train in your, I don't know, 80s or something. I mean, obviously, the best gift of all is to just go asleep and to not wake up again. Isn't that a wondrous thing? But a lot of people don't get a dispatch like that, do they? A lot of people in this world suffer relentlessly in their final years, in one way or another. And long before we get there, we lose all of our loved ones along the way. We lose our parents and our friends and our uncles and our aunties and so on. So yeah, it's very, very heavy, isn't it? And so I'm sat here, I'm 33 years of age, and I can just imagine myself 30 years from now looking at this video of me saying this and being 63 and thinking to myself, wow, you thought you had problems then, boy. You know, it really is a strange, wonderful, weird, and disastrous world we live in. I've said this on another stream, but I'll say it again. I do understand the religious impulse. I get it. I get why people yearn for a heaven. I get why people want to believe that there's a God who unconditionally loves them. I get why someone wants to go to the great big gig in the sky. Because the contrary, that all of this is for nothing and that we just die and we're dead and we're gone forever, that can be hard to accept. I get it. I do get it. I understand. But look, whether it's desirable or not, my view, as you are all well aware if you've watched any of my videos, my view is that we must align our beliefs to the evidence. And the evidence on this question is non existent. I don't see any good evidence for an afterlife. I don't see any good evidence for a heaven. There might be evidence that physicalism isn't the full picture of what the universe is. Like, there may be non physical entities. And some people might say that that opens the door to heavens and hells and so on. And maybe. But by the way, I'm not saying that physicalism is false, but I've just been trying to learn as much as I can about the different metaphysical propositions, and there's some pretty good challenges to physicalism according to my reading thus far. And physicalists struggle to explain certain phenomena and so on, consciousness and mind and certain entities, mathematics and that sort of thing. There, it's possible that there's non-physical entities, like maybe mathematical entities are non-physical. But even if mathematical entities are non-physical and yet they exist in some kind of ontological state, non-physical state, that doesn't mean that I survive death. You know, I still think that that's yet another leap. So, look, I don't have all the answers. Oh, we just got a super chat. Let's get to that. Libra, the fifth rider, for $5. Thank you so much, Libra. Libra writes, can I get people to drop some likes on Libra's comment there on that super chat? You're my age, man. Live your life. Don't focus on the end. Love the content. You make my workdays much nicer. Much love. May become a patron soon. That's incredibly kind of you to say, Libra. I really, really appreciate the positive feedback there. That's very, very generous of you. And good to hear that you're my age, actually. So we probably have a lot of shared references and so on. You know, had we lived in the same housing estate growing up, we may have been friends, you know. But I don't want to give the impression that oh wow, Scott Black just submits a super chat just for the sake of it. Scott, Libra, I'll get back to you in one moment, I assure you. Scott, thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. I mean, like, I always say, if you're going to submit a super chat, you're more than welcome to submit a question. But people who just want to be generous and just submit a super chat in and of itself, that's incredibly kind of you. So thank you so much for that, Scott. But Libra, just to get back to your question, I'd love to just point out, I don't want to give the false impression that I spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about, as you put it, the end. I don't, as a matter of fact. I don't think about, pardon me, I don't think about death a lot. The point I was hoping to make, although I probably made it badly, admittedly. Oh, wow, Scott submits. Scott, I'm not going to read every word in that because it could cause problems for my channel. But basically, what Scott is saying is that Hulk Hogan had some very unpleasant views about race. About race. Now, I had heard that, but I'm not familiar with it, Scott. I can't quote him because I'm not a fan of his. I never heard him speak, never listened to him speak, never sought out his opinions, so I couldn't tell you what he said or who he said it about. But I had heard through osmosis. I remember people saying that he was a bigot and he had certain unpleasant views, and that's fine. And so I'm perfectly aware that he's a controversial figure for those reasons. I'm just not intimately familiar with his views myself. So obviously I would have no love for opinions like that myself. But yeah, I'm not educated enough on it, Scott, in order to comment, I'm afraid, other than to say that if he did in fact have very unpleasant opinions about race, then shame on him, you know. But I just wanted to get back to what I was saying there, Libra. And again, Scott, thank you. Scott submitted another $2 in order to make that point. So thank you for your generosity, Scott. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. But Libra, yeah, I just wanted to just close the loop on that point I was making. You know, I'm not overly obsessed with death or the end or something like that. it's more in my mind in this last couple of weeks because we've lost these two icons. Whether they were unpleasant individuals or not is not the point. It doesn't change the fact that they're iconic. When I say iconic, that's not a value judgment. I'm not saying that therefore these people were good or therefore these people were bad. An icon is just somebody, the way I'm deploying the term at the very least, is just somebody who's like well known, well established in pop culture. I mean, who doesn't know that image of Hulk Hogan tearing off his shirt, right? um, Ozzy Osbourne the same, right? That iconic Ozzy image with him with the glasses and rocking out on the stage, Black Sabbath, you know. Um, these are iconic people, love them or hate them. They're iconic, and they both died in the last couple of weeks, if not just the last week, last 7 days. And it reminds you of death, doesn't it? When people like that pass away, you can't help but contemplate and reflect on your own mortality. So I think it's just because of the nature of the news cycle this week and in the last couple of weeks that death has been more on my mind. But I don't want to give that false impression, Libra, that I go around thinking about death a lot. I don't actually. I don't. Like most people, it probably occurs once in a while, when you get bad news or when a celebrity passes away or something like that. But apart from that, I think death is something that I think about infrequently. I'm too busy living to be thinking about death a lot. My channel probably gives a false impression that I think about it more than I actually do as well, I suppose, because my channel, by its very nature, focusing on the philosophy of religion, discusses these topics quite a bit, right? Oh wow, Libra submits another super chat. Thank you so much, Libra. That's very kind of you. Another $5 from Libra. Libra writes, "I'm not saying you do focus on it, hun. I'm just saying that we have this life. I have a death anniversary coming up, so I do get it." Oh, I understand. I know what you mean, Libra. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I get it. Um, yeah, yeah, and I understand that, Libra. You have a death anniversary coming up. I'm very sorry to hear that. By the way, that's very very sad, and I hope you're okay. It's isn't that a fascinating? Do you know what, Libra? You bring me on to a fascinating thing. Isn't it unbelievably profound the effect that anniversaries can have on grief and mourning? Like, what's going on there? Like, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but like, where are the people who decided that a day, not a day, sorry, where are the people who decided that a week should be 7 days? Right? We decided that. Like, that's like a socially determined thing, a social convention, a social construction. We decided that a week is 7 days. We could have decided that a week was 14 days, right? We could have done that. We could have done it that way around if we wanted to. Just got another super chat, which I'll get to there in a moment. But let me just finish this point with Lieber. Like, we could have decided that a week was 14 days. So double the length, right? And we could have had 14 days of the week, Monday through to Sunday, and then invent other names. The next day after Sunday would be Bun Day, and the next day after that would be One Day, and the next day after that would be Sunday, and the next day after that would be Jun Day, right? We could just invent 7 new additional names, right? It's a complete social construction that we have a week that's 7 days. But because of that decision, anniversaries fall when they do. Under a different social construction, they might fall on a different date. And so ultimately, even anniversaries are kind of social constructions. I mean, on a different planet, a year is longer than a year here, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong, the same amount of time has elapsed, but if you're defining a year as how long it takes for I don't know, for the Earth to orbit the sun or what have you, if we're making that decision, well, it takes other planets longer to orbit the sun or shorter to orbit the sun, so their yearly anniversary will be more Earth days than our Earth days, which would mean that their anniversary, if they wanted to say, oh, it happened on this day, a year later for them is either going to be longer or shorter than ours. I think I've said enough to kind of get across the point that I'm trying to make here, that anniversaries are kind of like social constructions, and yet despite the fact that they're kind of socially constructed in some sense, I'm saying in some sense because I'm aware that there are actually physical facts on the ground about orbit and about the Gregorian calendar and how we measure time and so on. I get that there are some facts on the ground here, but the point I'm making is that ultimately there's some kind of a social construction operating here, and despite its socially constructed nature, anniversaries can have a very deep and emotional impact on us as human beings. Right, the anniversary of a death, the anniversary of a birthday of a person who's passed away, or the anniversary of the time your house burned down, or the anniversary of the time you lost that job, or the anniversary of your divorce. Right, these things can be extremely impactful, despite the fact that they're, in some meaningful sense, not real. Not that the event that happened isn't real, but the day that you're remembering it is kind of artificial. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if this is making sense. I mean, let's just imagine a person who loses their loved one on the 1st of September. And then every other day of the year is hard. They have to live alongside that pain. But then it comes to the 1st of September again, and the pain becomes particularly sharp on that day again. So the day is particularly sharp, all on the basis of a socially constructed anniversary. So, like, if the anniversary was happening on a different planet, they wouldn't feel the pain sharply on the 1st of September because the year wouldn't have gone around yet. They would feel it on a different Earth day, if you see what I'm saying. I just find that fascinating, how we can be so subject to, so influenced by, and so moved by these socially constructed things. I mean, like, words are social constructions, they can deeply wound us. Anniversaries can be socially constructed, they can deeply wound us, and so on. I just, yeah, I find that utterly fascinating, and forgive me if I just sound like an idiot talking about what to some people might be otherwise a very simple point. But yeah, in any case, that's a very long answer to your comment, Libra, but I appreciate your comment nonetheless. Um, in any case, we did get another super chat, and there wasn't even a comment written along with it. Let me try and pronounce this correctly. I apologize in advance if I pronounce it badly. But it's Kashishimoto. Kashishimoto. Apologies if I've butchered that. The second part is easier. Howard Sibta. So thank you so much for the $5. That's incredibly kind. As I'll say every time, if you would like to submit a question, please do, because I would love to answer a question of yours, given that you've been kind enough to donate $5 of your hard-earned cash. I do not take that for granted at all. Actually, I realized when I went back, I did not heart all of these super chats. So let me go back and make sure that I've hearted all of them, because I don't want to be I don't want to fall behind. And I did say that if Pepaver 4, it's a genus of flower. Not sure of the pronunciation myself. Ah, okay, so that's the name of that was you, Pepaver, explaining your name. Fair enough. And I did say that if you wanted to submit a question, that you could. I just wanted to see if you did do that by reading back to the chat here quickly. And no, I don't see an additional question from Pepaver. But thank you for explaining the name Pepaver. That's very kind of you. And where am I gone here? So somebody just submitted another 2 more super chats. Wow, goodness, guys, you're so incredibly kind. This is crazy. Let me read through these quickly. Libra for another $5. Libra, you're killing me here. Thank you so much. I'm running out of ways to say thank you. I'm running out of words here. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being so generous. It means the world. Libra writes, my bestie's birthday is actually the day before the day that she died, hun. Grief isn't linear. She passed 3 years ago. Pain is sharp because I loved her. Yeah, do you know what? I think that's a great point. And I love the way you've put that, Libra. I've never heard it quite put like that. Grief isn't linear. You're absolutely spot on. You're spot on. So I was incredibly close with my nana. I was raised in part in her home. And when my nana passed away, I was devastated, as people are. I'm not going to compare grief with anybody else. That would be incredibly insensitive. I'm sure my grief was just as sharp as anybody else's in the same situation with the same strength of connection to a person. And it was very, very sharp. And then for some bizarre reason, Libra, I went about, I want to say like 6 months where like I felt very little. I actually had guilt. I was like, why aren't I upset? I reasoned, and I don't know how accurate this is, I reasoned that my geographic distance caused emotional distance. Because, of course, my grandmother lived in Ireland, as I did originally before I moved to England. So I went back to Ireland for the funeral, cried all of the tears that I could cry, and then I came back to England and went back to work like everybody has to do. The world keeps spinning, right? And so I suspected that perhaps my numbness had something to do with my geographic distance, because I wasn't around the people who were grieving her, and I didn't have to drive by the graveyard every day, and I didn't have to see her house in the distance, and I didn't have to be reminded of her through the face of my own mother, who resembled her in some ways. Even her laugh was similar, right? So I had geographic distance, and perhaps that explained it. But when you say grief isn't linear, you're absolutely spot on, because my grief didn't like descend naturally over time. It actually, like you say, it isn't linear. I remember I was watching a movie one night, and I'm ashamed to say I've forgotten the name of the film, but there was a grandmother character in the film, and she delivered a line to her granddaughter, which is the exact same thing that my grandmother used to say to me. I'm not going to say the line now because I don't want to risk getting upset on this live. I was watching this movie with my fiance. We were sat on the living room couch, and I just burst out crying. I just burst out crying out of nowhere. And my fiance was terrified. She was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I tried to tell her that's what my nanny used to say to me, but I couldn't get to the end of the sentence. And I kid you not, and I'm sorry if this makes me a snowflake, folks, and if it makes you think less of me, then look, fair enough, I understand. This is not exactly the strong silent type thing to admit to. But my fiance had to basically cradle me in her arms and kind of just hold me and get me back to the floor, get my feet back on the ground, because I just burst into hysterical tears. So I'm right there with you, Libra. Grief is not linear. You're 100% right. I had never seen it put that way, never read it put that way. So I think you're absolutely spot on. So thank you for that comment, not least because I'm going to commit that description to my memory bank. And Scott submits. Scott, you're a legend. I don't know what to tell you. Scott submits another super chat, not even with a question. Again, just another $199. Thank you so much, Scott. It's incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And Pepaver, which I think might be the fourth pronunciation that I've uttered of it this time, submits another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Pepaver. That's incredibly kind of you. Pepaver writes, if I remember correctly, you teach high school, secondary school. Are you able to add critical thinking skills? Kids today need more of it. I do teach high school, secondary school. I like that you put in the translation, Pepaver. Because, yeah, that's right. In England here, we call it secondary school. And, by the way, Howard writes that I actually pronounced it correctly. That's... Wow, I'm blown away. Thank you for telling me. But getting back to Pepaver, yeah, thank you for putting in the translation. So we call it secondary school here in England. In the States, I believe you call it high school. So can I add critical thinking skills? And is there a lack of it? I'm always tempted to say that critical thinking is in short supply. And there are a couple of symptoms of it that I think are quite undeniable. I would say chief among them is the rise in certain misinformation and disinformation. The number of people who believe that certain vaccines are designed to put microchips in your arms for global control. The number of people who think it was a plandemic. The number of people who believe that we didn't land on the moon. The number of people who think that the earth is flat. These are all numbers, according to my understanding, that are actually rising. They are rising. Denizens of the medieval period knew enough to know that the earth was a globe, but we have people, a growing number of them, in 2025 who think that the earth is flat. These people, to say that they lack critical thinking, would be a modest description of their mental acuities. This is just another way of me saying that they're really, really dense. They're really stupid. But they're not critical in their thinking at all. They probably can't spell the phrase critical thinking. But there's a serious problem. We have a serious problem on our hands, folks. People are believing all sorts of nonsense, and I've given my thesis as to why that's the case. I think it's in part because of social media, where algorithms target you. If you've any kind of an appetite for conspiratorial thinking, if you pause for an extra second on a conspiratorial article or a conspiratorial video, then TikTok sends more of that shit your way. It's the same with algorithms on YouTube and so on. So because you've tuned into this live tonight, you're probably going to have more atheist content recommended to you. In principle, it's a good idea. You want to see more of what you like. Fair enough. But what it does potentially produce, if you're not careful as a consumer of social media and online content, it produces echo chambers and thought bubbles where people are just fed a diet of something that they already think or already are sympathetic to, and they never get exposed to critical perspectives. So let me be the first to tell you, and I'll say this as an atheist YouTuber, you should absolutely go watch religious YouTubers. Go watch the apologists. Go watch the Ken Hams and the William Lane Craigs. Go watch them. Because you should hear the other side. Don't just trust that I'm telling you what they say accurately, because I've got my biases. I've got my blind spots. I might mislead you unintentionally. Go and broaden your horizons and look at as much stuff as you can. That's what I try to do. I don't trust the news from any given source or side. So like here in the UK, The Guardian is quite a left-wing newspaper. If I read an article in The Guardian on a given topic, the very next thing I want to do is go read about that same news topic in a right-wing paper like The Sun. I want to see both sides of the story. I want to get both angles. And then I try to make up my mind as, I hope, an educated thinker somewhere in the middle. But more specifically to Pepever's question, do I add critical thinking? I mean, I teach philosophy in school and religious studies. My day consists of teaching children about the fallacy of composition and the fallacy of authority and the fallacy of consensus and all of these fallacies that occur. You know, my we call them sixth formers here in the UK. So in Ireland, these people will be called fifth and sixth years. In England, they're called year 12s and year 13s. I'm not so sure what they'd be called in America, but basically they're 17 and 18-year-olds in their final years of high school. They're going to sit their final exams, which will determine what kind of university they go to. I teach children of that age range all day long in my school, not exclusively them. I also have some younger students as well. But I teach them all about the arguments for God's existence, the flaws, the fallacies, the strengths, the weaknesses, and so on. This is all I do. So I think I do my fair share in terms of trying to foster critical thinking in school and in the education system. I try my level best. I really do. The problem is, and this is going to be quite controversial, if there's any teachers watching, I'm sure I'm going to get a slap in the wrist here. The problem is the damage is already done by the time they get to us in secondary school. Now, I'm not so sure what primary schools do and don't do in relation to critical thinking. And it could just be the case that kids aren't good at critical thinking in the first place. I don't know. But all I can say is that there's a remarkable lack of critical thinking. But it's not just a kid problem, it's an adult problem. Guys, I'm not called the Magic Skeptic for no reason. I'm called the Magic Skeptic because I have dabbled in the sleight of hand arts. I've dabbled in magic my whole life. I started doing magic as a side hustle at the age of 5, and I turned it into a career for a time in Ireland before I moved to England, where I did gigs and weddings and birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. But you wouldn't believe the number of people I showed magic tricks to, and they ended up convinced that I had real powers. I would always remind them that this wasn't the case, because I didn't feel comfortable leaving people with the false impression that something supernatural had occurred. I would tell them things like, oh, no, no, I'm not really psychic. I didn't really read your mind. I use the tricks of the trade. And stream looks to be gone again, is it? Have I just lost the stream? Oh, there's my chat back. Let's see. Sorry, folks, I was in the middle of telling a story there, but it looks like the stream went. So if you can tell me in the comment section, let me know. So tell me if you can still hear me, folks. Yeah, video's a little choppy. Yeah, the video just completely dropped, folks. It just completely dropped, and I had to refresh my stream. So I'm not so sure why that happened. Bob says we're here. Good, good, good. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's like the internet just had a spike. It still says I have an excellent connection here, so I think it's on YouTube's end, folks. But in any case, yeah, I was just saying, guys, you wouldn't believe the number of people that I showed magic tricks to. And I would, I would tell them, listen, I haven't really read your mind. I'm just using tricks and sleight of hand and psychological subtleties and so on. But sound was still good for me. Video better now, but okay, good. Thank you, Gary. So yeah, I would tell people that I was just using my 5 known senses to create the illusion of a sixth. But some people would still walk away thinking that I had lied to them about my explanation of it. They would think that I had actually done something supernatural, and it wouldn't matter what I would say to them. They would just refuse to believe what I was telling them. And that was a very stark reminder to me that critical thinking is really not where it should be. Right? People are willing to believe very, very strange things on insufficient evidence. A simple magic trick was enough to convince somebody that the supernatural is real, And that's a huge problem, folks. So this isn't necessarily a child problem, it's a human problem. It might just be built into the very fabric of our being. I mean, go back as far as you want in history, and human beings were thinking uncritically. The person who thought that the thunder and lightning was Zeus throwing his thunderbolts, or the person who thought that the row they had with that woman in the pub is the explanation for their crops dying, and so now they think that she's a witch and we're going to burn her at the stake. I mean, it's just outrageous, the kind of things that people have believed throughout history and continue to believe, even today. Witchcraft is not a belief of the past, folks. There are still swathes of Africa which practice and believe in witchcraft, and will hurt and harm and kill people on allegations of witchcraft. It's a scary, scary world we live in, folks, where critical thinking is very much in short supply. And that's why, if you'll forgive me for saying so, that's why I think the work I do on my channel is really important. I know my channel is tiny. I know that I'm very unlikely to affect the world or change much. I don't have delusions of grandeur. Make no mistake, I don't think that I'm going to change the world. Very far from it. But if I only change one person's mind, if I only help one person think critically, or if only I end up realizing that I'm mistaken about things because you guys point me in the right direction, then I'll consider that a victory. Then I'll consider that a win. I mean, that's what this is all about. So I don't have delusions of grandeur. I don't think I'm going to change the world. But I already have good evidence that I've changed the minds of individuals. People have contacted me. People have reached out. I have emails and DMs from people who have told me, Magic Skeptic, I used to believe this, now I don't, and I credit you for that. I've received one particular DM that moved me to tears, because this person, I kid you not, this is no word of a lie. And I only got one of these ones like this, just to be clear. Just one of these. I'm not going to pretend that I have a a backlog of emails like this one. I do have other emails, but not like this one. I had one person tell me that I quite literally saved their life, that their faith was destroying them from the inside out. And they wrote me a very kind of emotional and, I dare say, metaphorically speaking, tear filled message of thanks and gratitude because my content had helped them and had changed their mind, and now they're doing better in life because they left the shackles of their faith behind. I cried reading that email. I was moved to tears. I mean, that's an incredible thing to receive from another human being. And so, that's priceless. That is absolutely priceless to me. I'm still in disbelief that I received that email from a person. And that, to me, that drives me. That keeps me going. Right? It keeps me going. There's times where I'm tempted to quit because it's not easy, folks. I'm not going to play the violin for you, but it's not easy to do a job and then come home and do a second job every day, because this requires an immense amount of my time. The average video production is 30 hours. And that's just the editing, to say nothing of the filming, to say nothing of the script writing. Right? There's a lot of effort that goes into this. Right? It's Sunday night, now Monday morning here in the UK. I mean, I could be just chilling out, watching movies, playing video games, but I'm on here. Now, this isn't a chore to me. I love talking with you guys. This has been a riveting live, and I'm really, really happy I came on. And sharing this moment with you is awesome, and you guys have been so generous. I don't want to be misunderstood here, because I'm incredibly grateful for this. I can't believe I'm sat here right now, and there's 20 concurrent viewers listening to me talk shit right now. And that's an incredible fact about my life that, as I always say in every live, I can't quite adjust to. It's amazing that I get to just go live here and strangers will tune in and listen to me speaking. That's an amazing thing. But make no mistake, this is all still very time consuming, right? Whether it's the lives or the editing or the script writing or the filming, there's an immense amount of work that goes into it. But I do it all because I have a passion for it, because I believe in my mission on the channel, and because I get incredible responses from you guys in these lives. But every now and then I'll get that message. Now, not many of them reach the heights of that email I just described to you, that DM. It was a DM, if I recall correctly. They don't always reach the heights of that, where somebody is literally telling me that I changed their life. But I've received enough positive feedback at this point that I don't plan on stopping. That positive feedback is like fuel that just keeps me going. Because it's hard, guys. It's like, I'm not proud to admit it, but I've had more than my fair share of moments where I was tempted to throw in the towel. Or I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm tired. Like, when I come home from a hard day's teaching, where like you've had difficulty with a class of students that have been frustrating you, and you've had a shouting match with a kid, and you've got marking and papers to mark, and you're up to your eyeballs in work and data entry, and it's just chaos and chaos and chaos. And then you come home and you have to sit down and do another 3 hours of editing to get that video up for Sunday. Granted, I volunteer for it. I'm not here to play the violin. I'm not looking for sympathy. But it's hard. That's all I'm saying. It's a burden that I volunteer for, but it's difficult. And Libra, with yet another super chat. Libra, you are a star, an angel, if you'll forgive the religious language. Libra writes, much love from us, hun, no matter the country. That's incredibly kind of you, Libra. Libra has now submitted 3 or 4 super chats. If I go back here, that's 2. If I go back again, that's 3. That's 4. Goodness gracious me, Libra. I don't know what I've done to earn that kind of generosity, but it truly is astonishing. I can't thank you enough. That's words fail Words fail. Gary, thanks for watching. You gotta go. I'll be heading off soon myself, folks, because I don't want to overstay my welcome. I've probably done that. People are just gonna laugh now and say, "Overstay your welcome, mate. You've been live for nearly 3 hours, for Christ's sake." Yeah, too true. I mean, I've been live for nearly 3 hours. That's true. I've been on now for 2 hours and 37 minutes. So I will bring this to a close soon. But yeah, uh, before I go, just to close the loop on what I was saying there, because I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm never going to come on here and play the violin and say, "Oh, boo hoo, look at me and my hard life." Make no mistake, all of this stuff that I do on YouTube, all of this Magic Skeptic stuff, all of the editing, all of the videos, all of the lives, all of the script writing, all of that is voluntary. It's something that I'm choosing to do. It's something that I'm putting on my own shoulders in an instant. Right now, when I hang up, when I finish this live and I close my laptop, I could delete my YouTube channel and never make another video. And then I'll never have to edit again. I'll never have to do another live. I'll never have to do any of that. I could do that, and then I'd have a whole load of extra time spare. Right? So I'm not going to complain, because clearly I'm volunteering for all of this. I am. I'm volunteering for all of it. Right? I'm not going to come on here and play the violin because I've chosen to do this. That would be ridiculous. Some people, the reason I'm saying that before I say the next bit is because some people will interpret the next bit as a complaint, and it isn't. It's simply just a factual acknowledgement. And the acknowledgement is this: YouTube requires an immense amount of work. That's just a fact. That's not a complaint. It's just a technical, factual observation. Simple. It requires an immense amount of work. Speaking of which, I just see there in the comment section, Sergeant Ducky has just joined. Himself an extremely successful YouTuber and good personal friend of mine. Ducky writes, "Just rewatched Angela's Ashes tonight. Least teachers back then could whip out the belt and blow off some steam on the troublemakers. They had it a bit easier then." Oh, goodness. Good old Sergeant Ducky with his trademark, despicable, dark sense of humour. Can we get some love for Ducky in the chat? Most of my subscribers are probably familiar with Ducky. Ducky, how many subscribers do you have now? Isn't it like close to 250,000 subscribers or something like that? Ducky is incredibly successful on YouTube, folks, so it's quite fitting that he joined in this moment, because he knows all about the graft and how much hard work goes into being successful on YouTube. So it's not a complaint when I talk about how much work is involved. It's just an honest acknowledgement of how much work is involved. That's it. I just like to remind people sometimes, because some people could be so demanding. Like, I remember one time I got this comment where I couldn't upload a video on a particular Sunday because it had been demonetized and I had to go through the appeal process. And some other person commented and said, "Oh, well, you should always have another video ready to go up instead of the video that got demonetized, just in case a video gets demonetized." And this was just so, bearing in mind that my content is free. All of my content goes onto YouTube for free and is viewable and accessible for free. Right? So despite the fact that it's free, this person wants a replacement video. Not tomorrow, not next week. They want it now. They want it yesterday, because YouTube demonetized my video and I had to go through the appeals process before I could put it live. But they wanted a replacement video, and I didn't have a replacement video, because for me to have a replacement video would mean that I'd have to do 60 hours of editing. Not 30 hours of editing. I'd have to edit 2 videos every 2 weeks. And that's just not feasible, folks. Not for one person who also has a job outside of YouTube as a teacher, and who also has a life outside of YouTube, where I try to attend the gym every now and then, and where I try and have a life with my fiance and so forth. But some people could be so demanding. And so I don't bring up my work hours to complain. I bring up the work hours so that people have some kind of an appreciation or understanding of what actually goes on behind the scenes in this gig we call YouTube. Look, maybe there's other channels out there. Maybe there's other channels out there who are able to make quick videos and it doesn't take them 30 hours to edit it. But unfortunately, the particular niche that I've bitten off, the content that I make, folks, Like, my videos are all highly edited content, and it takes on average, and that's not an exaggeration. It takes between 25 and 30 hours to edit my average video. It's that simple. Um, Scott Black is talking about Hulk Hogan again. Apparently, thanks for the. Oh, my God, Scott, I should have started off by saying thank you for the super chat. According to Scott, Hulk Hogan has said some rather unpleasant things about persons of color publicly. Apparently, he said some really, really uncool stuff. I'll have to take your word for it, Scott. That sounds awful. I mean, listen, I'll be honest, Scott. I don't take much relish in talking about his views on that when the man is still warm in the ground, if you get my drift. I think there's a time and a place for holding a person to account, and you're very clearly very passionate about this topic, and I'm not at all wagging my finger at you. Please don't misunderstand. It's just a personal thing for me. I mean, although at the same time, you know what? Maybe I'm being a bit too. Maybe I'm being a bit too sheepish. Not sheepish. Maybe I'm being a bit too shy about this, Scott. I always remember Christopher Hitchens when the Reverend Jerry Falwell died. When the Reverend Falwell died, Christopher Hitchens went on the news the day the man died, and he said that if you gave Reverend Falwell an enema, you could have buried him in a matchbox, in a matchbook, right? In other words, the guy was so full of shit that had you taken it all away, there would be so little of him left that you could bury him in a matchbox, right? So this is what Hitch said of the man the very day he died. And I always remember the TV show host. I think it was it might have been Hannity. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was one of those like Fox right-wing TV show hosts. And they said that it was disgusting and despicable that Hitch would say something so mean about the man on the day of his death. And I always remember Hitch's response. Hitch said, "Don't invite me on and tell me what to say. You've been airing nothing but praise and compliments for the man all day long." And Hitch felt like it was his journalistic duty to correct the record and say, actually, this guy wasn't a wonderful man. And that he did terrible things, and he said terrible things, and he had terrible beliefs. Or so was Hitch's view of the man. I'm not here to comment on the man himself. I'm just pointing out that Hitch made that point. And you know what? I guess he's right. So, Scott, you're more than welcome to air your grievances with Hulk Hogan, even though he died recently. That's totally fair. So I take back what I said when I said that perhaps now isn't the best time. I think it's only fair that people can also voice the nastier side of these people when they pass away, because we don't want to end up in a world where we air only piety. It kind of just ends up being propaganda for the dead if we're not honest about them. I mean, on the day of Vladimir Putin's death, whenever that happens, should he die of a cardiac arrest tonight and we wake up tomorrow to the news of his passing, should we only say nice things? Now, I'm not comparing Putin and Hulk Hogan, of course not. I'm just saying, principally speaking, are we duty-bound to broadcast only piety and nice things about Putin when he kicks the bucket? Surely not. In which case, then I guess we don't have to do it for Hulk Hogan either. So that's totally fair, Scott, and I appreciate you drawing attention to matters of that nature. That's totally fair. And Libra, my other big supporter here, goodness, Libra, again, your generosity knows no bounds. Libra donates again, writing, "I donate because I appreciate all you do." Well, Libra, you really are an angel. I don't know what I've done to deserve your kindness, but you've been so incredibly kind this evening. I can't thank you enough. And I really appreciate the positive review of my content. Hearing reviews like that kind of makes it all worthwhile, you know. Guys, I mean, I'm going to be honest, like I have my days where like I'm not on cloud nine with my content, where like I'll upload a video and it won't do excellently, where it doesn't get a big response and I put a lot of work into it, and a video will go live and get 500 views in the first day. And I'm like, why did my video only get 500 views in the first day when last week's video got 5k in the first day? So, like, I'm still figuring out the YouTube thing. I wouldn't consider myself a big channel. So just hearing that little bit of positive feedback there from people like Libra and others, and the generosity that I've experienced in this stream this evening, I I do not take it for granted. You're also very kind, I must say, and Libra particularly. Thank you so much for your generosity. But guys, to be honest, I said I wasn't going to overstay my welcome. I've been streaming now for 2 hours and 48 minutes. I'm going to bring this to a close. Oh, maybe it'll be brought to a close unintentionally. It looks like the connection dropped again, folks. I'd love to know why that's happening. It looks like it's back now. But yeah, the connection, you'll probably experience a buffer moment there, folks. It looks like the connection dropped for a moment. That's rather frustrating. But yeah, I was just in the middle of saying that I don't want to overstay my welcome. I've probably done that for some of you already. Goodness knows that an almost 3-hour stream is definitely indulgent. But truth be told, I've just had such a good time on this stream that I kind of lost track of time, basically. And I've greatly enjoyed the back and forth. And thank you to all of you who submitted super chats. You are the lifeblood of the channel. You keep it going, and you keep me sane, and you make it all worthwhile. And to all of you who have just dropped a like on the live, thank you to those of you who did that, and to those of you who joined us in the chat and were dropping comment after comment after comment, keeping the conversation flowing. Just thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me here this evening. And yeah, just thank you for being supporters of my work, guys. It's enormously appreciated. And I know I sound like a broken record now saying thank you, thank you, thank you, but words fail to convey the strength of my gratitude. So I'm just desperately trying to convey how grateful I am. So thank you so much. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there for this evening, folks. So yeah, it's been real, it's been emotional, it's been fun, it's been controversial. We've talked about a lot of stuff this evening, and I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And I hope to see you guys in the next live. I plan to do more of these throughout August, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, folks, mind yourself, stay safe, keep thinking critically, preferably, and I love you all, and I'll see you soon. All the best, folks.